It was a curious instruction from Spirit, a whisper in the silence that stirred my soul one sacred morning. Give thanks for the thing you do not yet see. That was the strange trick. So simple, so childlike, and yet so mighty in power. I stood before an unopened door and acted as if it had already swung wide. I praised the invisible. I rejoiced in the thing not yet made manifest. I gave thanks for the winning ticket before the numbers were drawn. I saw myself in possession of what the world calls impossible, and I called it done in divine mind. For there is no time in spirit. What you seek is already yours, and what is yours cannot be withheld. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And so I gave thanks for what I could not touch. That, dear student, was the strange trick, not a charm, not a game of chance, but the working of the word planted in the soil of unwavering belief. I now speak the word. My name is written on the winning ticket by divine right. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I praise before I possess, I sing before I see, and I reap before I sow, for in spirit the harvest is already full. The subconscious, that faithful servant, hears only the vibration of truth. It takes my word and fashions it into form. I do not beg. I do not plead. I speak with the authority of one who knows her place in the kingdom. I am heir to the infinite, and my spoken word is the key that unlocks the storehouse of heaven. I write no number on slips of paper. I write my faith upon the ethers, and the ethers respond with form, for the field must answer the seed. Money is mine by divine right, and it comes to me in avalanches of abundance, from expected and unexpected sources in perfect ways. I did not chase the ticket, I chased nothing. I stood still and saw the salvation of the Lord. I aligned my soul with the rhythm of divine order. I refused to panic. I refused to doubt. I walked in the knowing that every supply I seek is already prepared for me on the path of obedience. I gave no power to appearances. I gave no energy to statistics, to odds, to worldly noise, for I know that infinite intelligence is never limited. I am not under chance. I am under grace. What others call luck, I call law, the law of prosperity, operating through the law of assumption, shaped by the law of faith. These laws are eternal and impersonal. They do not mock the dreamer. They deliver what is spoken with belief. I spoke as one who had received, and I walked in the echo of my own prophecy. And then it came, as quietly as the dew upon the grass. No trumpet, no fanfare, only the sweet unfolding of answered prayer. The numbers aligned. The ticket in my hand bore the mark of divine appointment. I laughed not with surprise, but with recognition, for I had seen this moment in the secret place. I had rejoiced in it long before the paper appeared. I had blessed the outcome before it wore the robe of form. And I knew the strange trick had worked, not because it was strange, but because it was truth in action. I had aligned with the divine current. I had stepped into the stream of the already done. Before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I will hear. It was not chance, it was spiritual law fulfilled. And so I speak the word again, for you, dear student, for your dream, your desire, your divine portion. You do not wait in vain. You are not hoping in the dark. The seed is already planted. The field is already yielding. The supply is already flowing. Give thanks now, not later, not when the thing appears, but now, this moment. Thank the infinite for what your eyes have not yet seen. Say, I give thanks for my divine and timely increase. I give thanks for the doors that open without struggle. I give thanks that my wealth comes quickly, easily, and joyously under grace. For gratitude is the magnet. Thanksgiving is the miracle working force. When you thank before you see, you bend time and bring the unseen into view. Keep your vision clean. Keep your heart light. Do not look to man as your source. Look only to God, the giver of all good. The channel may change, but the source remains the same. Do not envy, do not grasp, do not struggle. Say only, Infinite Spirit, open the way for my immediate and endless supply. Let all that is mine by divine right now reach me in great avalanches of abundance. I walk in wealth, I live in overflow, I receive with joy, and I give in freedom. The world may call it strange. Let them. The world called Noah mad until the rain came. The world will always mock what it does not understand. But you, dear student, are not of the world. You are of spirit. You walk by faith, not by sight. You give thanks in the invisible, and the visible must obey. There is no power in fear. There is no substance in doubt. The only power is in the word rightly spoken. Speak not of luck. Speak of law. Say the divine design of my life now comes to pass. Doors open by unseen hands. I am led to the right ticket, the right time, the right moment by divine intelligence. I expect miracles. I walk in expectation. I live in the assurance that the universe is rigged in my favor. Let this be your rhythm. Let this be your song. Sing it daily. Praise in the waiting. Give thanks without proof, for faith is the proof, and what you plant with certainty must bloom in form. The strange trick is no trick at all. It is the ancient wisdom of the ages. Believe that ye receive, and ye shall have. I now speak the word. Divine intelligence guides me to the manifestation of every righteous desire. There are no accidents in divine mind. There are no missed appointments. Every event unfolds in divine precision, and the path of manifestation is paved with trust, not toil. As I continued in the vibration of gratitude, the air around me shifted. The ethers grew alive with response. I did not seek to control the method, nor force the manifestation. I simply held the vision, and I praised it as fulfilled. I became one with the answered prayer, and in that oneness the supply had no choice but to appear. The invisible must become visible when the vibration is sustained. What is spoken consistently with belief must come to pass. The word, once spoken in faith, is law, and law must be fulfilled. I said, my name is already written on the ticket. My number is already called. The wealth is already mine. I did not say this to convince the world. I said it to align with spirit. I whispered it in the stillness, shouted it in my soul, and rested in the knowing. I did not beg the universe. I commanded it through the authority of truth. The power that formed planets moves by my word, when spoken in harmony with divine law. I did not demand. I did not grasp. I surrendered. And in surrender I received. I did not attach to outcome. I attached to obedience. I followed the hunch, the nudge, the divine prompting. Spirit always speaks, not with thunder but with whispers. And I listened. And when the impulse came, buy the ticket now, take the turn, say the prayer, I obeyed without fear, for I knew that obedience is the final step before the miracle unfolds. The field is already ripe, said the Master. Look not 4 months ahead. Look now. The harvest is now. What delays us is not lack, but lack of belief. The ethers hold no scarcity. The divine bank never closes. The treasury of heaven is bursting with supply, waiting only for your vibration to match your vision. So I gave no power to appearances. I gave power only to the word. I said daily, what is mine cannot be withheld. My supply is instant, constant, and abundant. I now receive unexpected money from unexpected sources under grace in perfect ways. And the word went forth. And the word became flesh. For the word is seed, and seed must become fruit when planted in faith. Do not fret over time. Time is a servant, not a master. In spirit there is no delay. Delay is but a test of your steadfastness, not a denial of your good. The test is always before the triumph. The resistance is always before the release. But if you faint not, you shall reap. So I rejoiced when it did not come, knowing that even delay is divine. I praised even in the silence, for I knew the echo was coming. I watered the seed with thanksgiving, and I stood watch, not with worry, but with worship. I walked in shops as if I had already received. I blessed my bank account with the numbers I desired. I did not mock the vision, I magnified it, and the vibration attracted the form. Like draws to like, and wealth responds to joy. You must not ask for your good, you must claim it. What you do not claim, you delay, and what you doubt, you deny. I claimed the winning with my word. I sealed it with faith. I expected with joy. I rejoiced with praise. This is the way of the initiate. This is the law of demonstration. Whosoever shall say unto this mountain, Be thou removed, and shall not doubt in his heart, it shall be done unto him. I removed the mountain of disbelief. I cast it into the sea, and I walked in the clear path of manifestation. The strange trick was never strange to spirit. It is the eternal way. Speak it, praise it, walk as if, rejoice before. Give thanks now, and all things must align. The ethers must obey the voice of divine certainty, and so I say to you now, rise in faith, speak as one who already has, praise as one who already sees. You do not need the evidence, you are the evidence. You are the vessel through which spirit flows. You are the divine channel of supply. Say it now. I am rich by divine right. I receive wealth without worry. I expect large miraculous sums of money. I rejoice before I possess. Say it until your vibration rises. Say it until doubt dissolves. Say it until the thing appears, because it must appear. For the law is as within so without. The inner conviction is the outer confirmation. Keep the flame alive. Keep the song of praise on your lips. For the field is watching, and the field always answers the one who plants in joy and waters with faith. I now speak the word. My wealth flows freely, for I have released all blocks to receiving. The channels are open. The way is clear. I no longer question how the good shall come, for I know it must come. As surely as the sun rises, and the tide returns to kiss the shore, so too must my supply find its way to me. I have spoken the word, and the word is law. The moment I aligned with truth, the ethers began to move. Invisible hands began to arrange. Divine mind began to orchestrate, and the harvest began to ripen. I do not need to see movement in the outer. I feel the shift within, and when the feeling is fulfilled, the form must follow. I did not wait to feel worthy. I declared it. I did not ask for permission to receive. I stepped into possession, for I know that God is the giver, and the gift, and the giving all in one. The lottery ticket was never the prize, it was only the vessel. The true prize is the awareness of divine abundance flowing through all things. I no longer seek money, I radiate it. I no longer beg for supply, I become the magnet through praise. What is mine comes to me easily, freely, and joyously under grace in perfect ways. It cannot pass me, it cannot be stolen. It cannot be delayed when I am in alignment with divine order. I now cast out fear, for fear is the belief in two powers. There is only one power, and that power is God, and God is wealth, and God is love, and God is within me. So I dwell in security, I abide in peace. I know that the same power that created the stars also tends to my affairs. Not one hair falls from my head without divine attention. How then can I believe that something as simple as supply would be forgotten? I am not forgotten. I am not forsaken. I am known and loved by infinite intelligence, and my supply is tailor-made, prepared in advance, stored up for the appointed time. I walk into it with joy. I receive it with gratitude. I bless it as holy. The lottery ticket came not through striving, but through stillness. I became inwardly still and outwardly obedient. I waited until spirit moved me, and when it did, I moved with joy. I did not question the prompting. I did not second-guess the inner voice, for the inner voice is the voice of God, and when God says move, you must move, even if the world calls it foolish. I was led to the exact moment, the exact store, the exact action, not by analysis, but by intuition, and I obeyed with the swiftness of faith. I said, "This is the moment I have been praising. This is the manifestation of the word I planted." I walked with certainty, not hope, for the word never returns void. It always accomplishes its assignment. You too must become still. You must hear that still, small voice. You must trust the nudge, the hunch, the sudden inner instruction that whispers, "Now is the time." It will never come with fear. It will never come with confusion. Spirit's leading is always peaceful, always sure. And when you follow it, doors open without effort. The crooked places are made straight. The supply flows like water, responding to the direction of your praise. Say now, "I hear divine guidance clearly. I follow without fear. I receive without resistance. I live in divine rhythm." This is the way of miracles. This is the secret path, not through hustle, but through harmony, not through pressure, but through praise, not through gambling, but through grace. When you walk in divine order, all things are added unto you. You do not chase riches, you magnetize them. You do not seek luck, you radiate law. You do not need to strive, you simply align. And when you align, the universe bends to your faith. All matter responds to mind. All form obeys frequency, and the highest frequency is love, faith, and thanksgiving. I walked in these, and the ethers obeyed. And now I speak the same for you. You are on the divine path. Your good is already chosen. Your supply is already gathered. Your name is already written on that which you desire. Walk as though it were done, and it shall be done unto you. I now speak the word. What is mine by divine, right now rushes to me with unstoppable power, under grace and in perfect ways. The moment I removed doubt from my heart, the gates of manifestation swung open. I no longer questioned the timing, for divine timing is never early, never late. It is exact. It arrives when faith is full and fear is forgotten. The supply was already hovering in the invisible, waiting only for my unwavering belief to call it down. The ticket, the number, the money, it was never a matter of chance. It was a matter of consciousness. The field responded not to my desire, but to my declaration. I declared, "This wealth is mine. It is on its way. I now receive it with joy," and the field obeyed. For the field always reflects the inner word. It does not question. It does not argue. It mirrors. Whatever you boldly plant with the spoken word, the field must grow. I had planted many words in past days, some filled with fear, some with uncertainty, and I reaped accordingly. But the moment I made the shift, the moment I spoke not from worry, but from wonder, not from panic, but from power, the seed took root in a different soil, the soil of certainty, and there, the miracle began. I did not entertain doubt, not even for a second, for I knew that a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. I spoke with single vision. I looked only toward the good. I turned my face away from the world, and toward the Spirit, and Spirit answered. I said daily, "Infinite Spirit, I trust you completely. I walk by faith, not by sight. I expect divine surprises today. I expect money miracles now." And the surprises came, not through struggle, not through schemes, but through the strange, sweet openings of divine design. I was led without force. I was guided without tension. I obeyed the inner pull, and it led me to the ticket that bore my increase. The increase was never in the numbers. It was in the knowing. The numbers were simply the garment worn by the invisible supply I had already claimed. And that garment had to appear, for the word had gone forth. The money did not change who I was. It revealed who I had always been, a child of the Most High, heir to a limitless inheritance. I do not possess the riches. They possess me. They come through me, not just to me. I become a vessel of overflow, a conduit of circulation. For what blesses one must bless all, and what I receive in joy I share in joy. My wealth is not just material, it is spiritual. It is the outward symbol of the inward truth that God is my source, and I shall never want. When you know this, nothing can shake you, not the opinions of others, not the calendar on the wall, not the delay in the mail. You begin to live in a new realm, a realm of assurance. You no longer wonder if it will come. You prepare to receive it. You no longer ask when. You rejoice as if it were already here. You walk into stores and feel no lack. You open your hands and feel no fear. For you have tapped into the truth. Supply is not earned, it is aligned with. And when you are aligned, the impossible becomes the inevitable. I ask you now, beloved listener, what seed are you planting? What word are you speaking? Is it fear or is it faith? Is it lack or is it love? The field is neutral, but the harvest is not. The harvest reflects your dominant word. Speak now with authority. I now speak the word. The doors of wealth open to me now, for I walk in the light of divine expectation. I no longer knock in desperation. I knock in confidence, knowing the door is already unlocked. I do not wait for permission to prosper. I remember who I am, a spiritual being sent forth from infinite mind, carrying within me the pattern of perfect supply. And when I align with this truth, everything changes. No more fear, no more chase, no more waiting in shadows. I step boldly into the light, for I know I am in the presence of unlimited substance, and I now receive in full. When the ticket came, it was not a surprise to my soul. It was a return to order. It was the outer confirmation of the inner knowing I had already walked with. Every morning I had risen with praise, not panic. Every night I had slept in surrender, not scarcity. I had spoken the word, and I had not taken it back. I had sealed it with faith, not worry. I had said, this is already done. I live in the outcome. I rejoice in the unseen. And the unseen became seen. The promise became paper. The paper became provision. And the provision overflowed. For when you praise with purity, you draw in plenty. I did not look to man to provide. I did not lean on logic. I leaned on the everlasting arms. For the supply of spirit cannot be tracked, measured, or predicted. It comes like the wind, blowing where it listeth. You do not know how, but you always know it comes. And when it comes, it brings more than money. It brings peace. For what good is a winning ticket if fear still grips the heart? But the gift of spirit is full. It brings no sorrow with it. It restores the soul. It opens the eyes. It fills the cup. The supply I received did not diminish anything or anyone. It multiplied joy. It was not taken from another. It was drawn from the infinite. So I say again, your good is not limited. Your miracle does not remove another's. There is no competition in the kingdom. There is no shortage in the spirit. You do not need to grasp what is yours. You only need to know it is yours, and let go. Loosen your grip. Loosen your fear. Say now, I release all blocks to abundance. I trust the process of divine manifestation. I rejoice in the increase that is already mine. I walk in plenty. This is the way. This is the rhythm. You speak, you believe. You release, and the field brings forth fruit. Each time you worry, you delay the harvest. Each time you doubt, you disturb the soil. But each time you praise, you deepen the roots. Each time you affirm, you water the seed. Each time you rejoice, you hasten the blooming. Spirit needs no help to prosper you. It needs only your permission, and permission is granted through faith. Faith is the divine yes that opens the gates. So say yes. Say it now. Say yes to overflow, yes to miracles, yes to sudden wealth, yes to divine surprises, yes to answered prayer. Say it without hesitation. Say it without fear. For when you say yes to Spirit, Spirit says yes to you. And when the yeses match, the miracle arrives. It appears in the way you least expect, but always in the way that confirms your inner trust. It may look like coincidence to others. It may look like luck to the world, but you will know the truth. You will know the law. You will know that nothing comes to you by accident. It comes by vibration. It comes by alignment. It comes by the strange and wonderful workings of divine order, set in motion by your word, upheld by your faith, and drawn into form by your love. I now speak the word. The riches of heaven are mine now, and I receive without fear, for it is the Father's good pleasure to give me the kingdom. I no longer ask if the wealth will come. I no longer wonder how it shall appear. I stand in the knowing that what is mine is already moving toward me, through channels seen and unseen. I have released the burden of figuring it out. I do not work the miracle. I receive it. I do not strive to force the door. I praise until it swings open. For praise is the oil in the hinges of heaven. Praise is the song that parts the veil. Praise is the evidence of faith fulfilled before the eye sees the sign. When I praised the invisible, the visible began to take shape. I did not see the numbers on the ticket before the draw, but I saw the result in my spirit. I saw myself rejoicing. I saw myself giving thanks. I saw the money already circulating. I walked with the vibration of victory, and victory came. For nothing resists a soul that rejoices in advance. Nothing delays a heart that sings the song of supply. I did not praise to get. I praised because I already had. That is the strange trick misunderstood by the world. To give thanks before the miracle is not foolish. It is faith. It is the highest form of creation. Faith does not ask for signs. It gives them. Faith does not need proof. It becomes proof. And so I became the evidence. I became the vessel. I lived as though it were done, and the ethers bowed to the rhythm of my certainty. The moment I stopped watching the clock, the moment I let go of when, where and who, the moment I returned to the stillness of I am, everything aligned. The divine appointment had been set long before I knew the date, and all I needed to do was arrive in faith. This is the sacred rhythm of manifestation. You plant the word, you water with joy, and you wait in stillness, not idle waiting, but pregnant with praise, expectant, confident, peaceful, and while you wait, you do not stare at the seed, you do not dig up the soil, you do not beg the heavens, you simply affirm the harvest is certain, the manifestation is sure, my good is guaranteed, and then one morning, one evening, one unexpected moment it arrives, not because you earned it, but because you aligned with it. I say now, speak as I spoke. I walk in divine favor. I attract money with ease. I am led by spirit to miracles disguised as ordinary moments. I trust the process of prosperity. These words are not empty. They are seeds, and every seed carries within it the full picture of the tree. You do not need to understand how the tree will grow. You only need to plant and to believe. The soil does the rest. The field performs the miracle, but it will only bring forth what you have spoken in love and faith. Release the striving, release the grasping, release the fear that says you must control the outcome. For the kingdom is not entered by force, it is entered by faith, and when you step into the kingdom steps into you. Your very presence begins to radiate prosperity. Your vibration becomes the invitation. Your joy becomes the signal, and wealth flows not to the loudest voice, but to the clearest frequency. Align your frequency now. Say, I am already rich. I am already favored. I am already chosen. I am already provided for. And let that truth carry you, like a wave of light, into the manifestation already prepared for you from the foundation of the world. I now speak the word. The manifestation is complete. The miracle is mine, and I rejoice in the abundance of the fulfilled word. I walk in the field of answered prayer. I breathe the air of divine harvest. I hold in my hands the visible proof of invisible faith. But more than this, I hold the knowing, the holy certainty that what came to me was never about the paper, the numbers, the prize. It was about the revelation, the unveiling of truth. That supply does not come from odds. It does not come from man. It does not come from effort. It comes from God. And God is never late. God is never confused. God is never limited. As I stood with the ticket in hand, I did not feel shock. I felt recognition. I had been here before in the spirit. I had seen it in vision. I had claimed it in faith. I had praised it in secret. I had walked with it in my heart, until my heart and the outer world matched. This was not chance. This was demonstration. This was divine order made visible. This was the law of the spoken word fulfilled. The field must respond to the word, and the field did, and now I live in the overflowing. But I do not stop here. I do not hoard the miracle. I do not bow to the gold, for the gold is not the goal. The glory is the glory of God made known through the manifestation of plenty, the demonstration of heaven's abundance poured through an obedient soul. I now become a lighthouse. I shine not only with wealth, but with wisdom. I radiate not only with blessing, but with boldness, for I know the secret. I have touched the hem of the law, and I pass it on to you now, dear listener, as it was passed to me, not through teaching, but through truth. You too have the power to call forth what is yours. You too are heir to the kingdom. There is no limit in spirit, and there is no lack in your life when you speak the word in alignment. You are not separate from your supply, you are one with it. You are not beneath your good, you are equal to it. It longs to reach you, it rushes to you, it waits only for the welcome of your faith. Speak now, as I have spoken. Declare, I am the miracle in motion. I am the doorway through which divine abundance now flows. I receive without resistance. I give without fear. I live in the overflow of divine provision, and let the word settle deep into the soil of your subconscious, where no thief may steal it, and no doubt may uproot it. Walk now as the receiver. Think now as the prosperous. Give now as the wealthy. Praise now as the fulfilled. For the moment you live in the answer must live in you. Do not ask for signs, be the sign. Do not wait for proof, walk as proof. You are the visible expression of an invisible truth that God is supply, and supply is now. Let the world call it strange, let them say it's foolish, let them whisper of luck and chance, but you will smile, and you will know. It was never a trick, it was the law of faith in perfect operation, and that law once awakened never sleeps. It continues to bless, continues to increase, continues to unfold in ways no man can measure, and so it is.
Beloved, life is not a battle but a game. And like every game, it is played according to certain laws. Many have been taught, from childhood, to expect struggle, fear, and lack. Words have been spoken over them, words of limitation, doubt, and failure, and those words have taken root in the fertile soil of the subconscious, shaping the conditions of their lives. But every negative pattern, every false belief, can be erased just as easily as chalk is wiped from a blackboard. The mind is the workshop of creation. Whatever picture it holds steadily will be impressed upon the outer world. If the picture is one of defeat, defeat will surely come. If it is one of abundance, health, and victory, those blessings must appear. For the law is unfailing: whatsoever a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. The good news is this: years of negative programming, no matter how deeply rooted, can be dissolved in an instant by the light of truth. The subconscious accepts every word we speak, every thought we entertain, without judgment. If for years we have spoken words of worry, I can't, I'm not worthy, things never work out for me, then those seeds have produced after their kind. But by choosing new words, words of power, words of faith, the garden of the mind can be replanted. The harvest changes as swiftly as the sowing. There is no age, no past, no history that can stand against the eternal now. The present moment is filled with unlimited potential. In this instant, one may decide to release the old record that has played endlessly in the background of the mind. That record of lack and fear can be broken, and a new song can be set upon the turntable, one of harmony, joy, and freedom. Life responds unfailingly to the tune we hum within. Often people say, "But I have struggled for years. The damage is done." Yet there is no damage that spirit cannot heal. The universe knows nothing of difficulty. To spirit, the release of a lifetime of wrong thinking is no greater task than the lifting of a feather. The same law that allowed the error to form will, when reversed, dissolve it. Every wrong belief is like a shadow. It appears dark, but it has no substance. Turn on the light and the shadow vanishes. The spoken word is the key. Declare boldly the opposite of what the negative programming has whispered. If it has said, "You are weak," affirm, "I am strong, for the power of the infinite works through me." If it has said, "You will never prosper," affirm, "I am supplied from a boundless source, and riches flow freely into my life." Each affirmation plants a seed of truth, and truth, once spoken, cannot fail to bear fruit. One does not need to fight the old beliefs. Fighting only gives them power. Simply ignore them, and replace them with radiant affirmations of good. As darkness is dispelled by light, so error is dispelled by truth. The years of negative programming dissolve like mist before the rising sun, and the dawn of freedom breaks forth. The subconscious mind accepts every word and thought. It is the silent builder behind every experience. The hidden scribe that records every impression we allow to pass through the gates of our conscious awareness. The subconscious does not argue, nor does it analyze or discriminate. It simply takes in the material handed to it and brings it forth in the outer world as conditions, circumstances, and experiences. For this reason, what is spoken, what is thought, and what is believed is of utmost importance, for nothing remains unexpressed. Every word becomes a seed, every thought a decree, and the subconscious is the fertile soil that never fails to yield a harvest according to its planting. Many fail to recognize this law and speak carelessly, saying things they do not truly desire, only to find those very conditions multiplying in their lives. A person may casually say, "I am always unlucky," or "I can never afford that," and the subconscious, obedient and unquestioning, goes to work to manifest conditions that align with those words. It does not pause to ask, "Is this true? Does this serve the higher good?" It simply reflects the suggestion given, just as a mirror reflects the image placed before it. This is why the tongue is described as having the power of life and death, for words spoken with feeling sink deep into the subconscious, shaping destiny itself. The thoughts entertained in silence carry the same power. Every idle fear, every worry, every mental rehearsal of failure is impressed upon the subconscious as a command. A person who continually imagines disaster will find disaster seeking them out, not because life is cruel, but because the law is exact. The subconscious mind accepts the mental picture, and the unseen forces of creation move to fulfill it. The outer world is nothing more than a photograph of inner thinking, a snapshot of the images continually held before the inner eye. Yet the same law that makes one a prisoner of careless words and thoughts is also the law that grants freedom and mastery. For just as negative suggestions are accepted and reproduced, so too are affirmations of truth, power, and success. When the conscious mind deliberately chooses words of strength and visions of good, the subconscious cannot resist them. It must bring them to pass. It does not matter how long a false belief has been planted, nor how many years the soil has borne a harvest of lack and limitation. The moment new seeds are sown with conviction, the law begins to turn, and the old conditions must yield to the new. Consider how a gardener transforms a neglected field. If weeds have grown unchecked for years, the soil does not argue against the planting of good seed. The weeds may appear abundant at first, but as the gardener tends carefully, pulling up the old growth and sowing new seed, the harvest changes. The field that once bore thistles begins to yield wheat. In the same manner, the subconscious, when fed with words of harmony and thoughts of abundance, gradually ceases to reproduce the weeds of fear and doubt, and instead brings forth health, prosperity, and peace. This truth explains why repetition and affirmation are so powerful. Each repetition drives the new idea deeper into the subconscious, until it takes root and grows as naturally as the old patterns once did. To say, "I am divinely guided," again and again, is to impress upon the inner mind a picture of guidance and safety, which then manifests as intuitive leadings, right decisions, and timely protection. To declare, "I am strong and whole," is to plant the seed of health, which the subconscious accepts and outpictures in the body as vitality and strength. The law does not tire, nor does it falter. It responds unfailingly to every impression. The subconscious also accepts suggestion most readily when the conscious mind is quiet and passive. States of relaxation, moments before sleep, and times of meditation open the doorway for suggestion to pass unchallenged. This is why many find it helpful to repeat affirmations before retiring at night, for the subconscious works unceasingly while the conscious mind sleeps, weaving the affirmations into the fabric of life itself. Even a single statement, spoken with deep feeling and conviction, can overturn years of wrong thinking, for the subconscious is not bound by time. It knows only the present moment, and it responds instantly to the strongest impression it receives. Another key to understanding the subconscious is realizing that it is always linked to the universal mind, the infinite intelligence that governs all. Thus, the words and thoughts impressed upon it are not limited to personal strength alone. They draw upon the inexhaustible power of spirit. To declare a truth is to release an energy greater than oneself, and the subconscious, being the channel of that energy, ensures its manifestation. A man may think he is weak and limited, but when he begins to declare words of strength, the subconscious connects him with strength beyond his human capacity, and he finds himself doing what once seemed impossible. The subconscious also accepts images and symbols. A person who continually envisions themselves as successful plants, that picture as surely as one who speaks it aloud. Visualization is but another form of language, one that the subconscious understands perfectly. To see oneself walking in abundance, living in peace, and radiating health is to give the subconscious a blueprint it will unfailingly reproduce. The outer conditions may take time to align, just as a seed takes time to grow, but the law is certain, and the harvest cannot be denied. This principle explains why so many live lives filled with contradiction. Outwardly, they may desire good, but inwardly, their thoughts are filled with doubt, fear, and contradiction. They say, "I want success," but they imagine failure. They pray for abundance, but they speak constantly of lack. The subconscious accepts the stronger impression, and most often it is the negative one, for it is repeated with greater feeling and conviction. The law does not show favoritism, it simply reflects what is planted. Thus, the careful watcher of thought and the deliberate speaker of words becomes the master of destiny. Every great change begins with a new thought. To recognize that the subconscious accepts every word and thought is to hold the key to transformation. One need not strive to undo the past. One must simply begin to impress new patterns in the present. The moment a person becomes conscious of their words, guarding them as treasures, and begins to select thoughts as carefully as one selects precious jewels, life itself begins to change. For the subconscious, obedient and tireless, continues its work, bringing forth in form whatever it has been given in spirit. Negative programming can be erased and replaced instantly. The years of false belief, the constant repetition of untrue words, and the pictures of defeat that have played again and again in the mind are nothing more than shadows on the wall. They may seem strong, they may seem permanent, but they are without substance. They exist only because they have been given attention and belief. The moment the attention is withdrawn and a new impression is given, the old dissolves, for error has no foundation of its own. It is upheld only by the power of thought, and thought can be changed in an instant. Many live under the weight of memories and experiences that have impressed themselves deeply upon the subconscious. Words of criticism spoken in childhood, repeated failures in youth, or struggles in adulthood may seem to form a wall that cannot be broken. Yet the truth is that these memories have power only because they are remembered with feeling. The instant a new truth is accepted with greater feeling, the old impression is erased. The subconscious does not cling to the past. It only responds to the strongest current impression. And when that impression is one of faith, harmony, and abundance, the old patterns vanish as though they had never been. This is why it is said that truth is always victorious. A single ray of light drives away darkness that has lingered for centuries. A room may have been dark for 1,000 years, But the moment a lamp is lit, the darkness is gone without effort. The same law governs the mind. Negative programming may have been fed for decades, but the moment truth is spoken with authority and conviction, the years of false belief are wiped away. The subconscious does not keep accounts of time. It knows only the now, and in the now, it must yield to the higher word. To erase negative programming, one must first recognize that it is false. The idea that one is unlucky, unworthy, or destined for struggle is not truth. It is an error impressed by repeated suggestion. When the conscious mind boldly declares the opposite, the error begins to dissolve. To say, "I am guided, I am worthy, I am successful," is to set a new pattern before the subconscious, and it cannot resist the stronger picture. With persistence, the new becomes established, and the old falls away. This does not require years of labor or analysis of the past. It requires the firm choice to speak and think only what is desired. The speed with which change occurs depends not on time but on conviction. Some erase years of limitation in a moment of illumination, when a great truth flashes upon their mind and sweeps away the old beliefs as though by fire. Others replace gradually, through steady repetition of affirmations and faithful refusal to entertain the old suggestions. In both cases, the principle is the same. The new impression cancels the old, for the subconscious cannot hold two opposing pictures. The stronger impression always dominates, and life reshapes itself accordingly. Consider how a record player works. If a song of sorrow is playing, one does not need to wait until it finishes to hear a new melody. One simply removes the record and places another upon the turntable. The new song begins instantly, and the old is forgotten. So it is with thought. The negative record may have played for years, but it can be lifted off in an instant and replaced with a song of joy, health, and prosperity. The subconscious does not protest. It simply plays the record that is set before it. Affirmations are the needle that carries the new song into the grooves of the mind. To say with feeling, "I erase every false belief. I accept only truth. I am whole, I am free, I am abundant," is to press a new pattern into the subconscious. Each word spoken with faith deepens the groove, until the old programming is forgotten, and the new becomes the only melody heard. The outer life then reflects the change, for it is but the echo of the inner song. Visualization is another powerful means of replacement. If one has continually pictured failure, the imagination must now be turned toward success. To see oneself walking in victory, surrounded by abundance, radiant with health, is to create a blueprint the subconscious must follow. The pictures of the past dissolve as the new images are impressed. The law of mind is creative, and it responds without fail to the pictures held before it. The spoken word, combined with feeling, works instantly. Feeling is the fire that burns the image into the subconscious. A word spoken coldly may have little effect, but a word spoken with passion and belief etches itself deeply. If one has spoken words of fear with feeling, those words have shaped their life. But when one begins to speak words of power with equal feeling, the new pattern takes hold, and the old is consumed. It is not effort that brings the change but alignment with truth. Truth is self-existent. When it is declared, it establishes itself without struggle. Even the most stubborn forms of negative programming yield to this law. Habits of thought that have repeated themselves for decades may appear strong, but they are only strong because they have been repeated. The instant the repetition stops, and a new repetition begins, the balance shifts. Just as water wears away stone by continual flow, so affirmations of truth wear away the hardest beliefs, until nothing remains but the smooth surface of freedom. Some experience this shift suddenly, as if a weight has been lifted. Others notice it gradually, as the new pattern quietly replaces the old. In either case, the law is certain: negative programming cannot withstand the presence of truth. The mind cannot serve two masters. If one continually feeds it with affirmations of strength, peace, and abundance, the negative programming loses its hold. To say daily, "I choose truth, I choose freedom, I choose joy," is to set the course of thought in a new direction. The subconscious, obedient and faithful, follows without question. The outer world adjusts, doors open, conditions shift, and life reflects the inner renewal. Negative programming can be erased and replaced instantly. It matters not how long the mind has entertained false beliefs, how many years words of limitation have been repeated, or how deeply rooted a fear seems to be. The nature of error is that it has no real substance. It is only an image impressed upon the subconscious. An image may appear strong, but the moment a new image is introduced with greater force, the old vanishes as though it never was. A shadow may linger in a darkened room for decades, yet the instant light enters, the shadow is gone. So it is with negative programming. It can dissolve in a single moment, when the light of truth is spoken with conviction. Many hold the belief that because a habit of thought has been repeated for years, it must take years to undo. This is not so. The subconscious does not measure by time. It responds only to impression, and the strongest impression wins. A man may have repeated a lie to himself for half a lifetime, but if in one blazing moment of realization, he declares the truth with absolute certainty, that truth will erase the falsehood completely. The inner law knows no difficulty. It does not struggle to overwrite the old. It simply accepts the new and outpictures it. One strong affirmation spoken with faith carries more power than 1,000 repetitions of fear spoken half-heartedly. The key lies in intensity of conviction. The subconscious accepts what is felt as true. If negative programming has ruled, it is only because the false beliefs were accepted with feeling. They may have been reinforced through words spoken by authority figures, through experiences charged with emotion, or through the silent repetition of fear-filled thoughts. Yet the same channel through which error entered is the channel through which truth can enter. When a new word is spoken with emotion, when a new picture is held with determination, it cuts deeper than the old pattern and takes command. The law does not cling to the past. It reflects the strongest present conviction. Consider the case of a person who has been told since childhood that they are weak, unworthy, or destined to fail. Those words spoken repeatedly planted themselves in the subconscious and grew into a crop of insecurity and lack. But one day, perhaps through an inner awakening or a revelation of truth, the individual stands and declares, "I am strong, I am worthy, I am guided into success." If spoken with fire, with unwavering certainty, those words strike the subconscious like a bolt of lightning, burning away the weeds of false belief. From that instant, life begins to rearrange itself to match the new declaration. What seemed like years of conditioning collapses before the presence of a higher truth. The swiftness of change often startles those who expect struggle. They think change must be gradual, that one must wrestle with the past endlessly. Yet struggle belongs to the conscious mind. The subconscious does not resist. It does not argue, it does not debate. It yields instantly to the higher impression. A person may affirm abundance after years of lack, and suddenly find doors of supply opening, where before there were none. Another may declare health after years of illness, and feel strength flowing through their body, as though a new current of life has been switched on. These are not miracles outside the law. They are demonstrations of the law's perfect response to the present command. One reason people cling to negative programming is because they rehearse it constantly. They tell the same stories of failure, repeat the same complaints, and imagine the same disasters. Each telling renews the old impression, giving it fresh life. Yet the moment one refuses to repeat the old record, and instead begins to affirm the new, the programming loses power. The subconscious does not preserve the past unless it is continually fed. Withdraw attention, and the old belief fades like a star at dawn. Replace it with words of truth, and the dawn grows brighter until only light remains. Imagination is a powerful tool in this process. To see oneself as already free, already abundant, already strong, impresses the subconscious with a living picture. If the old programming said, "You are always behind," the instant a vivid picture is held of walking in victory, of moving forward with ease. The subconscious begins to reproduce that new picture. It does not ask whether the image is realistic, It simply accepts it. And as the new image is impressed again and again, it grows stronger than the old until the outer world reflects it. This is why visualization, coupled with spoken affirmation, can bring about rapid transformation. Another method of erasing negative programming is through what might be called the law of reversal. If one has been repeating words of fear, simply reverse them into words of faith. If one has thought continually of failure, declare success. If one has pictured lack, picture supply overflowing. The subconscious does not hold on to the error once the opposite truth is asserted with conviction. It is like turning the wheel of a ship. No matter how long the vessel has drifted in one direction, the instant the wheel is turned, the course changes. The waters may take time to reveal the new heading, but the direction is already altered. The subconscious responds especially to words charged with joy. When the declaration of truth is spoken with enthusiasm, it carries far greater weight than words spoken with indifference. Joyful affirmation breaks through years of programming because it vibrates with life. To speak with laughter and energy is to impress the subconscious in a language it cannot ignore. The old programming was most often planted through fear and sadness. It can be uprooted through joy and faith. The swiftness with which negative programming can be replaced is also linked to one's willingness to let go. Many unconsciously cling to their old patterns because they identify with them, believing they are part of who they are. The instant one decides, "This no longer belongs to me, I am free of it," the subconscious accepts the release. Freedom comes not from wrestling with the old, but from dropping it entirely and choosing the new. Just as one can set down a heavy stone at any moment, so one can lay aside the burden of false belief in an instant. Even when the old pattern tries to reappear, it can be dismissed easily by refusing to give it attention. One does not need to fight it, for fighting keeps it alive. Simply replacing it with the new truth each time it arises ensures its final dissolution. Every time the subconscious is presented with the new pattern, it grows stronger until the old has no place left to cling. The replacement is complete, and life bears witness to the fresh seed that has been sown. The spoken word holds creative power. Every word uttered is a seed planted in the soil of the subconscious, and the harvest is inevitable. Words are not empty sounds drifting into the air, they are forces charged with energy, clothed in vibration, and alive with direction. Once spoken, they do not vanish. They impress themselves upon the inner mind, and from there they move outward into the unseen, drawing conditions, people, and circumstances that match their tone. To speak is to decree, and the law of the subconscious is to carry out that decree without resistance or question. From the beginning, words have held this power. The world itself is spoken into being each moment by the thoughts and words of those who inhabit it. When someone says, "I am weak," they set in motion currents that reproduce weakness. When they say, "I am strong," those same currents arrange themselves to bring about strength. The spoken word is like a key turned in a lock. It opens the door to whatever is affirmed. Words of lack open the door to lack. Words of abundance open the door to abundance. The law is exact, and it never fails to fulfill the command given. Every word carries with it a vibration, and that vibration is impressed upon the subconscious with precision. A child who hears repeatedly that they are clumsy, unworthy, or incapable begins to carry those words within, and the subconscious, taking them as commands, reproduces them in life. The child grows into an adult who finds themselves stumbling, doubting, and failing, not because of truth, but because of words once spoken. The spoken word continues to echo until it is replaced by a higher word. This is why affirmations of truth are so powerful. They break the chain of false decrees and establish new ones. When someone begins to say, "I am divinely guided, I am supplied from an infinite source, I am radiant with health," those words enter the subconscious and begin to build. The subconscious does not measure by the past. It takes the present word as law. If the present word contradicts years of false belief, but is spoken with conviction, it cancels the old and plants the new. The harvest follows the seed, and the seed is always the spoken word. Feeling magnifies the power of words. A word spoken without emotion may skim the surface of the mind, but a word charged with feeling sinks deeply into the subconscious, where it sets roots. This is why words spoken in moments of strong emotion, whether fear or faith, so often shape destiny. A declaration of fear in a moment of panic may impress itself deeply, but so too can a declaration of truth in a moment of inspiration. To speak with joy, passion, and certainty is to engrave the word upon the inner tablet where it must manifest in form. Words also create images in the imagination, and the subconscious works upon these images tirelessly. To say, "Everything works out for me," conjures a picture of harmony and ease, which the subconscious accepts and reproduces. To say, "Nothing ever goes my way," forms a picture of struggle, which the subconscious also accepts and reproduces. The spoken word not only declares but also paints, and the canvas of the subconscious holds every brushstroke. The subconscious does not argue with the spoken word. It does not reason or weigh possibilities. It accepts and obeys. This is why careless speech is so dangerous. People often declare what they do not wish to experience, thinking their words are idle, not realizing that each utterance plants a seed. Someone may say, "I always catch a cold this time of year," and soon the body reflects that command. Another may say, "I can never get ahead," and circumstances seem to conspire to keep them behind. Yet the law works just as faithfully for truth as for error. When one begins to say, "I am filled with divine health," or "Everything I need comes to me in perfect time," the subconscious accepts those decrees and arranges life to match them. Repetition deepens the groove of the spoken word. A single declaration may impress itself faintly, but when repeated day after day with faith, the word becomes established in the subconscious as a permanent law. This is why affirmations are not to be spoken once and forgotten. They are to be repeated, joyfully and expectantly, until they feel natural. Once they feel natural, the subconscious has accepted them as truth, and the outer life must reflect them. The spoken word, repeated with conviction, is like drops of water carving stone. Eventually, the stone yields, and the channel is formed. Words also hold power when spoken aloud rather than silently. The vibration of sound carries force that penetrates deeply into the subconscious and into the unseen. To hear oneself declare, "I am prosperous, I am protected, I am victorious," reinforces the message more strongly than silent thought alone. The ears hear, the mind records, and the subconscious accepts. Sound amplifies the decree, sending it forth with greater impact. The spoken word does not return void. Once released, it travels into the unseen and sets in motion forces that continue to work until the decree is fulfilled. A word of blessing spoken over one's affairs sets in motion currents of good. A word of complaint sets in motion currents of difficulty. To bless is to increase, to curse is to diminish. Every word blesses or curses, builds or destroys, sows peace or sows discord. The choice lies in the speaker's tongue. Even casual words hold power. Someone who continually says, "I am tired," will find themselves exhausted more often, for the subconscious receives the command and lowers energy to comply. Another who says, "I am filled with energy and life," finds the subconscious releasing vitality. Words spoken in jest, if repeated often, may also take root. The subconscious has no sense of humor, it accepts the word as law. This is why vigilance over speech is essential. To guard one's words is to guard one's destiny. The spoken word also has power when directed toward others. Words spoken over children, friends, or loved ones are often accepted by their subconscious, especially if spoken with authority or emotion. A parent who says to a child, "You are clever, you are capable, you will succeed," plants seeds that grow into confidence and ability. A parent who says, "You are foolish, you will never learn," plants weeds that may hinder for years. The same law applies in every relationship. To speak words of encouragement and blessing is to call forth the best in others. To speak words of criticism and condemnation is to reinforce their weaknesses. The creative power of the spoken word extends beyond the personal into the collective. When groups of people repeat the same affirmations of fear or lack, they create collective conditions of fear and lack. When groups declare truth, unity, and abundance, they create collective upliftment. This is why the words of leaders, teachers, and those in authority carry such weight. They impress not only individual subconscious minds, but also the collective subconscious of communities and nations. A single word of faith spoken by one in authority can uplift thousands, while a word of despair can bring many into darkness. The spoken word is a tool given to every soul. It is the means by which one shapes life according to desire. To understand its power is to step into mastery. To ignore its power is to drift, allowing careless words to create carelessly. Every word is a decree. Every decree a seed, every seed a harvest. The law is unfailing: as one speaks, so shall they experience. Fighting error strengthens it. Replacing it dissolves it. The human tendency is to struggle against what is unwanted, to push against fear, to wrestle with doubt, and to resist lack. Yet every ounce of energy given to opposition nourishes the very thing one seeks to be free from. The law of mind is that whatever receives attention grows. To fight error is to feed it with attention, to clothe it with vitality, to bind oneself to it more tightly. The more one declares, "I will not fail," the more the picture of failure is held in the mind. The subconscious does not register the word, not. It sees only the picture presented. The mind that fights failure is filled with the image of failure, and the subconscious reproduces it faithfully. Freedom does not come through resistance but through substitution. Just as darkness cannot be pushed away, but vanishes when light is introduced, so error cannot be fought into submission but disappears when truth is affirmed. To say, "I do not want to be sick," is to impress the subconscious with the image of sickness. To say, "I am filled with health and strength," is to impress it with the picture of vitality. The first strengthens error, the second dissolves it. The law is impartial, responding to the pictures and words presented without judgment. If the picture is negative, it grows. If the picture is positive, it manifests. The choice is always with the one who holds the thought and speaks the word. Struggle often feels natural, because it gives the impression of effort and control, yet struggle is the surest way to entrench the old pattern. The harder one tries to banish fear, the more vivid the picture of fear becomes. The more one tries to resist poverty, the more firmly the image of poverty is stamped upon the subconscious. It is like quicksand: the more one thrashes, the deeper they sink. Release comes only by ceasing the struggle and choosing a new image. One must ignore the error and replace it with truth, calmly and steadily, until the truth stands alone. Consider the gardener who discovers weeds in the soil. To sit in rage against the weeds, to curse them, to beat the ground in anger, is wasted energy. The weeds remain, yet if the gardener plants flowers and nourishes them, the weeds are gradually choked out. The soil cannot produce both weeds and flowers in the same place. The stronger plant overtakes the weaker. In the same way, the subconscious cannot hold two opposing pictures indefinitely. The stronger impression prevails. If the picture of truth is held steadily, error fades. This is why affirmations are most effective when spoken with calm assurance rather than desperate struggle. To affirm with force and fear is to mingle the vibration of doubt with the word, weakening its effect. But to affirm with serenity, as though the truth were already established, is to impress the subconscious with quiet power. Error dissolves not through frantic battle, but through steady substitution. Each time the old thought arises, one gently turns away and replaces it with the chosen truth. Over time, the new becomes the only pattern, and the old ceases to appear. The principle can be seen in the handling of habits. If one seeks to overcome a habit by sheer resistance, they often find the habit growing stronger. The more attention given to resisting, the more the subconscious holds the picture of the habit, and the more it reproduces. But when one begins to replace the habit with a new activity, the old loses its grip. The energy once devoted to the error is now channeled into truth. The subconscious, impressed with the new pattern, begins to establish it, and the old pattern withers from neglect. The same law governs emotions. Anger does not dissolve through resisting anger, but through cultivating peace. Fear does not vanish through fighting fear, but through affirming faith. Sadness does not lift through struggling against sadness, but through replacing it with joy. Whatever one dwells upon grows stronger. The key is not to deny the presence of the old, but to withdraw attention from it and give attention to its opposite. In doing so, the law of replacement operates, and the old fades as the new becomes established. This principle is also evident in speech. Many speak constantly of what they wish to avoid. I don't want to be late. I can't afford this. I'm tired of being sick. Each statement strengthens the very condition they despise, for the subconscious accepts the picture and works to fulfill it. The wise replace such speech with affirmations of what they desire. I arrive at the perfect time. I am abundantly supplied. I am filled with health. The subconscious, receiving the new command, begins to shape life accordingly. The error is not resisted, it is ignored and replaced. Imagination is a powerful ally in this process. If one has pictured themselves failing repeatedly, it is useless to fight those images directly. The effort only makes them stronger. But by deliberately picturing success, seeing oneself victorious, confident, and prosperous, the new images gradually displace the old. The subconscious cannot hold both pictures with equal strength. The one dwelt upon consistently becomes dominant. Thus, success is not achieved by struggling against failure, but by envisioning success so clearly that failure fades into nothingness. Another illustration can be seen in the use of light. A room filled with darkness cannot be emptied by fighting the darkness. No matter how fiercely one resists it, the darkness remains. Yet a single candle flame dissolves it instantly. The darkness was never a force of its own, it was only the absence of light. Error, too, has no power of its own, it is only the absence of truth. When truth is spoken and affirmed, error vanishes as naturally as darkness before dawn. This law frees the individual from endless struggle. Instead of fighting against every wrong condition, one need only replace it with its opposite. To replace sickness with health, weakness with strength, lack with abundance, fear with faith, disharmony with peace. Each time the error presents itself, one calmly affirms the truth, without argument, without struggle, without fear. Over time the truth becomes established, and the error is forgotten. Even the most stubborn forms of error yield to replacement. A person who has struggled with fear for years may find that no amount of resisting removes it. Yet if they begin to affirm courage daily, to picture themselves acting with confidence, and to speak words of strength, the subconscious accepts the new pattern. The fear, once fed by attention, starves from neglect and dissolves. Another who has lived in lack may find that resisting bills and debts only multiplies them. But by affirming abundance, picturing supply, and blessing every sign of provision, the new pattern grows until prosperity becomes the reality. The beauty of this law is that it requires no struggle with the past. There is no need to analyze, resist, or uproot every false belief. One must simply replace them with truth. As the truth is established, the error disappears of its own accord. The gardener does not fight the weeds endlessly, he plants flowers, and the flowers take over. The mind does not banish darkness through resistance. It turns on the light, and the light reigns. Truth and light dispel years of false belief. A mind may have been conditioned from childhood with words of fear, limitation, and failure, and those words may have built strongholds in the subconscious, shaping circumstances and coloring every experience. Yet no matter how long error has remained, it is powerless before the presence of truth. Truth does not struggle with falsehood, it simply shines, and the falsehood vanishes. A single ray of light dispels darkness that has lingered for centuries, and in the same way, a single realization of truth erases lifetimes of error. Time does not strengthen false belief, for error has no life of its own. It is upheld only by attention. The instant truth is declared, the structure of false belief collapses, for it never had foundation in reality. False belief is like a shadow on the wall. The shadow may appear large, looming, and frightening, but it has no substance. It is only the absence of light. Once the light is turned on, the shadow disappears instantly. Years of fear, doubt, and despair dissolve just as quickly when truth enters. The subconscious, once impressed with error, accepts the new impression of truth as easily as it once accepted the false. The change does not require struggle or delay. It requires only that the word of truth be spoken and received with conviction. The subconscious does not preserve error out of loyalty to the past. It only reflects what is continually impressed upon it. If false beliefs have been repeated, they have grown strong in appearance, but they are not permanent. The moment truth is impressed with greater force, the false belief gives way. This is why affirmations of truth are so powerful. To declare, "I am free, I am guided, I am whole," plants a new seed in the subconscious. Even if error has been nourished for years, it cannot withstand the presence of this new seed. The soil accepts the new planting, and the harvest begins to change. Truth carries within itself the power to establish itself. Unlike error, which must be sustained by repetition of fear and doubt, truth is self-existent. Once declared, it does not depend upon human effort to remain. It shines with its own light, and that light disperses all that is unlike itself. A person who has lived under the belief that they are unworthy may have reinforced that lie for decades. Yet in the moment they realize and affirm, "I am worthy, for I am one with the infinite source of life," the old belief begins to dissolve. The truth carries a higher vibration that the subconscious cannot resist. It is not necessary to go back through every false belief and examine its roots. The focus need only be on truth. When light fills a room, there is no need to trace every corner where darkness once dwelt. The light takes care of it all at once. In the same way, when truth is declared and affirmed, the years of false belief lose their hold, and the subconscious reorders itself according to the new word. This is why many experience sudden breakthroughs after long periods of struggle. It is not that truth has just become available, but that they finally opened the door to it. The spoken word of truth has a creative quality that cuts through the illusion of false belief. To declare, "I live in a universe of abundance," is to bring the subconscious into alignment with the reality of supply, regardless of how long lack has been experienced. To affirm, "I am filled with divine life and health," is to establish a new pattern in the body, no matter how long illness has been present. Truth does not look at the past, it establishes the present, and the present reshapes the future. Light reveals what was hidden. False belief thrives in ignorance, but once light is brought to it, its emptiness is exposed. Someone who has believed all their life that success is reserved for others may suddenly realize that success is a universal law, available to all who align with it. That realization, once accepted, dissolves the years of limitation. The light of truth reveals that abundance, health, and harmony have always been available. The only barrier was belief in the opposite. When the falsehood is seen for what it is, it crumbles at once. The process requires no force. Just as one does not need to push darkness out of a room, one does not need to wrestle with false beliefs. They fall away naturally when truth is affirmed. Every time one speaks words of truth, the light grows brighter. Every affirmation is a candle lit within the mind, and as more candles are lit, the shadows of false belief vanish completely. The subconscious, once filled with old records of fear and doubt, becomes filled with melodies of strength and freedom. Repetition strengthens the presence of truth within the subconscious. Each time truth is spoken, it drives the roots deeper. Years of error may appear strong because they were repeated often, but repetition of truth quickly overtakes them. To declare daily, "I walk in perfect guidance," eventually becomes established so firmly that doubt cannot return. The truth becomes second nature, and the subconscious holds it as law. The old beliefs, once thought immovable, are forgotten entirely. Even the most painful past can be healed in this way. A person may have experienced rejection, loss, or humiliation, and those experiences may have carved deep grooves of false belief. Yet, when they declare the truth, "I am loved, I am safe, I am secure in the divine," Those grooves are filled with light. The memory may remain, but its sting is gone. For the false conclusion, once attached to it, has been dissolved. The subconscious no longer repeats the old pattern, because it has been given a higher one. Truth is eternal and unchanging. False beliefs shift with circumstances, opinions, and fears, but truth stands as a steady light. When the mind anchors itself in truth, it finds stability. The storms of error may rage, but they cannot shake what is founded on truth. This is why one affirmation of truth, spoken with certainty, is more powerful than years of false belief. The false belongs to time, but the truth belongs to eternity. Eternity always prevails. The light of truth also brings clarity. When one lives under false belief, confusion reigns, and decisions are clouded. But when truth is affirmed, the path clears. The subconscious, aligned with truth, begins to direct intuitively. Ideas flow, guidance comes, and obstacles dissolve. The years of error no longer dictate the present. The present becomes shaped by light, and life takes on a new rhythm. What once felt like endless struggle begins to feel like effortless unfolding. Truth and light work gently but powerfully. They do not shout or force, they shine. They reveal what is real and cause the unreal to disappear. When one continually affirms truth, speaks words of light, and holds to them with conviction, the transformation may feel sudden, though it has been building silently all along. The years of false belief are erased, and the subconscious stands clear, ready to build upon the foundation of truth alone. Every man holds within himself a key he may not know he possesses. It does not shine like gold, nor make a sound when turned. Yet it opens a secret door, a door hidden from the hurried eyes of the world. This door leads not only to outward triumphs, but to inner serenity. It does not swing open by chance or through struggle, but by the steady alignment of thought with divine law. Success is not something to chase. It is something to allow. You may have knocked on many doors of toil, of ambition, of desperate planning. But those doors are often closed tight, yielding only frustration or temporary gain. The secret door is different. It responds not to force but to faith. To walk through it, you must believe before you see, speak before it appears, and act as though what you seek is already yours. The world may call this foolishness, but Spirit calls it power. Every thought is a hammer. Every word is a chisel. You are building your tomorrow with your today. As long as you speak defeat, lack, or delay, you block the secret door. But speak the word of victory, and you step into the light of answered prayer. There is no success outside of divine order. When man aligns with the infinite, mountains move. Doors appear where there were only walls, and time bends to purpose. Many live lives of quiet questioning, wondering why they try so hard, yet advance so little. They do not realize they are working against their own good with doubt, with fear, with complaint. The subconscious mind obeys. If you speak of failure, it obeys failure. If you speak of triumph, it obeys triumph. The secret door is not hidden from you, but for you. Hidden from the eyes that see only lack. Hidden from ears that hear only bad news. But it reveals itself to the soul that dares to imagine. The voice that speaks blessing. The heart that stands in faith when all seems dark. Step back from worry. Release your grasp on the how. Speak the word of good, expect the unexpected. For when you least expect it, when you surrender the burden and trust the law, the door swings open in silence, and you find yourself standing in the land of answered desires. There is no limit to what lies beyond it. There is no lack in divine supply. Your part is simple: keep your mind stayed on truth. Let your word be life, and your path will unfold in peace, prosperity, and perfect timing. Success is often pursued as something external, something out there in the world waiting to be captured through hard work, clever planning, or relentless ambition. People spend years chasing opportunities, climbing ladders, and forcing outcomes, believing that by sheer human effort, they will eventually arrive at a place called success. Yet many find themselves exhausted, disillusioned, or constantly falling short. The deeper truth, often ignored, is that success is not truly achieved by struggle or striving. It comes through harmony with divine law. Divine law is the unseen order behind all things. It governs the universe with exactness, balance, and justice. It is not influenced by emotion, by circumstance, or by appearances. Just as gravity operates whether or not we believe in it, divine law functions with unwavering precision, responding not to fear or effort, but to alignment. To align with this law is to align with success itself, because in truth, success is already yours. It is the law's natural outflow when the mind and heart are rightly attuned. Struggle, as commonly understood, often stems from a belief in separation. Man thinks he is alone, working against a hostile world, competing for limited resources, fighting to make things happen. This belief creates resistance, and resistance delays or distorts results. The more a person pushes, the more friction is created between his desire and its manifestation. But when man remembers that he is not separate, that he is a divine instrument working in harmony with a higher pattern, he ceases to strain and begins to cooperate. And in that cooperation, things begin to flow. Alignment with divine law begins in consciousness. It is not about outer action first. It is inner realization. It is the still awareness that your supply, your guidance, your opportunity, and your success are already prepared for you. You are not trying to create them from nothing. You are allowing them to emerge through your faith, your thought, and your speech. Just as a flower grows when it is aligned with light and water and warmth, so does success grow when the individual is aligned with divine wisdom, divine timing, and divine order. To align with the law, one must first clear away false beliefs. If a person believes that life is unfair, that success is reserved for the lucky few, that nothing good comes without pain, then that person will be bound by those beliefs. The law does not argue. It simply reflects. If you declare that life is hard, then life becomes hard, not because it is inherently so, but because the law is fulfilling your decree. You are the sower, and the law is the soil. Whatever you plant in consciousness, whether faith or fear, truth or error, will come forth after its kind. Once a person begins to understand this, everything changes. He realizes that his work is not to force outer conditions, but to purify his thoughts and words. He begins to replace the idea of lack with the truth of divine supply. He releases the belief in chance and affirms the certainty of divine guidance. He ceases to speak limitation and begins to speak abundance. In doing so, he moves out of discord and into rhythm. He finds that what once seemed difficult now happens with surprising ease. Doors open, people assist. Ideas arrive, and the way becomes clear. Not because he pushed harder, but because he let go of resistance and trusted the law. Alignment is not passivity. It is receptivity. It is interactivity, spiritual alertness, and the willingness to be led. It is listening instead of forcing, obeying the still small voice rather than chasing every opportunity that appears. The person who is aligned with divine law is not frantic. He is not in a hurry. He knows that what is his cannot be taken, and what is not his will not stay. He walks in peace, even when there is no outward sign, because he knows that spiritual law is at work, unseen, perhaps but never inactive. True success, lasting, peaceful, and full, never violates the law. It never requires betrayal, deceit, or exhaustion. It flows from right use of thought, word, and expectation. To live in harmony with the law is to live in expectation of good. It is to see beyond appearances and hold fast to the unseen reality. It is to know that what is prepared for you is better than what you could force for yourself. The law is not moved by need, it is moved by belief. And belief is a choice, renewed each day by what you focus on, what you speak, and what you accept as true. Those who live in constant struggle often do not realize they are working against the current of their own good. They say they want success, but they affirm failure. They speak of opportunity, but expect rejection. They move forward with their feet, but backward with their thoughts. This inner contradiction creates confusion, delays, and disorder. But once the inner world is made clear, once thought, feeling, and speech are brought into agreement with truth, the outer world reshapes accordingly. The law begins to mirror the new consciousness, and what once seemed distant comes near. This understanding changes not only individual success, but also the way we measure it. No longer is success about status or comparison. It becomes about alignment, how closely one's life reflects the divine pattern within. A person may have much outward achievement but be far from peace, and therefore not truly successful. Another may walk a quiet path yet be filled with purpose, joy and flow, and in that stillness, fulfill a destiny far greater than imagined. Divine law sees beyond appearances and measures not by the world's standards, but by harmony. There is great rest in this truth. You do not have to force open doors or convince the world of your worth. You do not have to struggle to be seen or heard. Your part is to align. When the inner world is right, the outer must conform. The law cannot be broken, but it can be used. And when rightly used, with faith, with clarity, with gratitude, it becomes the most powerful ally a soul can have. Faith and the spoken word are the keys that unlock the secret door to success. They are not mere habits of optimism or pleasant self-talk. They are tools of spiritual creation, forces that shape the invisible substance of life into visible form. The world may view words as casual, thrown about in conversation without consequence, and faith as merely hope dressed in wishful thinking. But under divine law, words are power, and faith is law in action. The one who masters his faith and his word becomes the master of his conditions. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. It is not blind belief, nor is it based on appearances. It is a knowing, an inner conviction, that what is unseen is more real than what is seen, because all that appears in the material world was first formed in the realm of spirit. Faith is the builder. It does not wait for confirmation. It speaks the end from the beginning. It is a spiritual law that whatever is held in unwavering belief must come to pass. Not because of chance, but because belief sets the creative forces in motion. Your word is your wand. Every time you speak, you are decreeing something into form. Whether you know it or not, your words are working. They do not stop and ask whether you meant them. They do not discriminate between positive and negative. They simply obey the law that says what a man sows, he reaps. A careless word spoken in jest, if repeated enough, takes root. A declaration made in fear, if not corrected, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is why idle words are not idle at all. They build, they destroy, they attract, they repel. The law responds not to your intentions, but to your declaration. When faith and the spoken word are joined, they become unstoppable. To speak with faith is to command with authority. It is to call forth that which is not, as though it were. The moment you speak a word with conviction, unmoved by doubt, unmoved by appearances, you set the creative law in motion. The outer world may not shift immediately, but the inner blueprint has changed, and in time, the outer must reflect the inner. This is not superstition. This is not magic. It is spiritual science, the precise operation of cause and effect in the realm of consciousness. Faith does not plead. It does not beg, it knows. A person who truly believes does not ask over and over again. They speak the word once and then give thanks, knowing it is done. Their behavior changes. Their expectations shift. They walk as one who already possesses what they have claimed. This mental and emotional alignment is what draws the unseen into the seen. Doubt, on the other hand, causes delays. It sends mixed signals to the law. One moment you affirm success, the next you speak of failure. The law becomes confused, not because it lacks intelligence, but because it mirrors your contradiction. You cannot speak defeat and win. You cannot speak lack and expect abundance. Many people undermine their own desires with words of fear, complaint, sarcasm, or bitterness. They pray for a miracle, but in the next breath talk about how things never work out. This double-mindedness weakens faith and cancels the creative power of the word. Your word must be clear, deliberate, and sustained. You must speak what you seek until you see what you spoke, and even then, you continue to affirm. Because life is always unfolding, always responding to your present belief. There is no power in the word unless it is backed by belief. You may repeat affirmations all day, but if you do not believe them, they fall to the ground. Repetition alone is not faith. True faith is emotionalized. It is charged with feeling, with conviction, with expectation. It is not about saying the right phrase. It is about saying it with the energy of certainty. When you declare, "I am successful," you must feel the vibration of success already being yours. You must let the body, the voice, the mind all agree with that reality. Then the law moves to fulfill it. The spoken word creates an atmosphere. When you speak life, peace, and abundance, you create a field of energy that attracts those very things. People feel it. Circumstances respond to it. Doors begin to open. Not because you manipulated them, but because your word has gone ahead and prepared the way. The spoken word is not limited by time or space. It sends out vibrations into the ether, and those vibrations draw to you the people, opportunities, and outcomes that match your declaration. The law is impersonal. It does not judge. It simply reflects what you declare as true. Faith is strengthened through use. Like a muscle, it grows with exercise. Every time you choose to believe instead of doubt, to affirm instead of complain, to expect good instead of bracing for trouble, your faith becomes stronger. And as your faith grows, so does the power of your word. You begin to see results more quickly. You begin to trust the process more deeply. Your life takes on a new rhythm, not of striving, but of unfolding. You realize that your words are seeds, and your faith is the water. You do not dig up the seed to see if it's working. You water it with praise and patience. You must also guard against the influence of others. Many well-meaning people will speak fear, lack, and limitation over your life. They may not understand the power of their words, but that does not lessen their effect. You must learn to reject anything that does not align with the truth you are claiming. Do not repeat their fears. Do not agree with their doubts. Your word is your own. It must remain unshaken, regardless of what is spoken around you. The creative process requires consistency. It requires vigilance. It requires that you speak only what you want, never what you fear. There may be moments when appearances contradict your faith. The temptation will be to give voice to discouragement. But these are the most important moments to stay in your declaration. Say what is true, not what is obvious. Speak of supply when lack appears. Speak of healing when symptoms arise. Speak of peace when chaos surrounds you. This is not denial, it is spiritual authority. You are not pretending the problem doesn't exist. You are asserting that divine law is greater than any problem, and that your word, spoken in faith, has power to change what is seen by changing what is believed. The subconscious mind is the silent builder of your life. It is the storehouse of memory, habit, and belief. It does not argue, reason, or analyze. It simply accepts what is impressed upon it and brings it into manifestation. Whether those impressions are formed through repetition, emotion, or vivid imagination, the subconscious treats them all as instructions. And the truth that often goes unrecognized is that it obeys not the wish, not the fleeting desire, but the dominant thought and word. This means that you are always instructing your subconscious mind. Every word you speak, every thought you dwell upon, every mental image you nurture becomes a command. You may say you desire success, yet if your prevailing thought is one of failure, if your daily words speak of lack, delay, or doubt, then it is failure, not success, that your subconscious will act upon. It is impartial and obedient. It does not filter for your highest good. It reflects what you give it most consistently. The power of the subconscious lies in its creative nature. It draws upon the universal substance of life and shapes it into form. It operates through the law of correspondence, reproducing externally what is held internally. If the inner world is filled with fear, scarcity, and limitation, then these must show up in outer experience. Conversely, when the inner atmosphere is saturated with confidence, peace, and expectancy of good, then those very conditions must appear. There is no escape from this law. It is always operating, always producing after its kind. This is why inner discipline is so vital. It is not enough to speak a few affirmations in the morning and then let the rest of the day be filled with worry, gossip, and complaint. The subconscious responds to consistency and feeling. It takes its orders from the strongest and most repeated impressions. A single declaration of faith may be neutralized by hours of negative self-talk. It is not the one-time statement that carries weight. It is the daily pattern of thought and speech that shapes reality. Many people unknowingly work against themselves by planting one idea in the morning and digging it up with words of fear by evening. They set a goal, affirm their desire, visualize success, but then speak of obstacles, expect delay, or dwell on what might go wrong. The subconscious, receiving both signals, responds to the dominant one, and more often than not, it is the voice of fear that carries greater emotional charge and repetition, making it the ruling influence. This is not punishment. It is law functioning as it was designed. To shift your results, you must shift your impressions. You must take conscious control of your inner conversation. Become aware of the words you say silently and aloud. Listen to how you describe your life, your work, your health, your relationships. Are your words in agreement with the life you want to live, or do they reflect the life you wish to leave behind? The subconscious is always listening. It is always recording. It is always creating. What you speak with emotion imprints the subconscious more deeply than what you say with little feeling. That is why words spoken in fear, anger, or deep sadness often produce strong results, because the emotion fuels them. But the same principle works for good. When you speak your truth with confidence, when you affirm success with joy, when you declare abundance with gratitude, you impress the subconscious with a force that compels results. It is not mechanical repetition that brings power. It is living speech, charged with belief. You are not a victim of your subconscious, you are its master. But mastery requires vigilance. It requires choosing your thoughts and words with care, not letting old patterns run unchecked. It is easy to fall into habitual phrases. I always mess things up. Nothing ever works for me. I'm just not that lucky. These seem harmless, but they are creative declarations. The subconscious accepts them, builds upon them, and organizes your experience to match them. You may not even remember saying them, but they are already working. To change the program, you must speak a new language. Begin to declare what you wish to be true. Even if the evidence is not yet visible, say, everything is working out for me. Opportunities flow easily. I am divinely guided and abundantly supplied. At first, these words may feel foreign. They may even stir resistance. But if you persist, if you say them daily, feel them deeply, and allow no contradiction, they will begin to sink in. The subconscious will begin to accept them, and once accepted, they will bear fruit. It is helpful to understand that the subconscious does not work instantly, but it works certainly. There is a gestation period, just like in nature. You do not plant a seed and expect a tree tomorrow. You nurture it, water it, protect it, and trust the process. So it is with mental impressions. Some changes manifest quickly, others take time. But the law is always at work. The subconscious is always responding to your dominant belief. If you remain steady, the outer will eventually match the inner. You may find that your outer world tries to tempt you back into old thinking. A bill arrives. A project delays. Someone speaks doubt. These are tests, not of punishment but of power. Will you speak from appearance? Or will you speak from truth? The one who masters the subconscious mind is the one who continues to affirm the desired outcome, regardless of what the senses report. They do not deny reality, they choose to create a higher one. Impressing the subconscious is not about force, but about persistence. It is not about desperate repetition, but about calm conviction. The most powerful statements are those made in stillness, with trust, and without contradiction. You say them, and then you act in harmony with them. If you declare that you are successful, then walk like it. Think like it, expect like it. Let your behavior align with your belief, and the subconscious will respond with precision. Dreams do not remain in the realm of the unseen forever. Once accepted by the subconscious mind, they begin to move into form. Circumstances adjust. People are drawn. Ideas surface. The law of attraction is simply the subconscious magnetizing your outer life to reflect your inner state. There is no need to chase what is yours by law. Your part is to believe, speak, and expect, knowing that the subconscious mind is carrying out your instructions with unwavering fidelity. The choice is always before you. Will you feed the subconscious with fear or faith? Will your word reflect limitation or liberty? Will your thoughts be governed by appearances or guided by truth? The subconscious cannot decide for you. It can only obey. It is your servant, not your ruler. But it is a faithful servant. Give it clarity, give it direction, and it will shape your world accordingly, without hesitation, without deviation, without fail. Doubt, fear, and complaint are the great enemies of manifestation. They do not simply delay blessings. They actively block them. These forces work quietly, often disguised as realism or caution, but their effects are powerful and precise. Under divine law, what is spoken and believed is what comes into form. To entertain doubt is to plant uncertainty. To dwell in fear is to cultivate defeat. To give voice to complaint is to affirm that lack and hardship are the dominant truth. The law, ever obedient, mirrors back these inner conditions as outer experience. Doubt is the denial of divine order. It interrupts the creative process by introducing conflict. When a person affirms one thing, but mentally or emotionally doubts its possibility, they are sowing opposing seeds in the garden of the subconscious. The law does not respond to the spoken word alone. It responds to the belief behind the word. A declaration made without conviction is like a seed planted in dry soil. It may sit there, but it will not grow. True belief waters the seed and anchors it deep within the subconscious, where it takes root and begins to form visible results. Fear is even more magnetic than faith when it is allowed to dominate. This is because fear often carries intense emotional charge, and emotion gives weight to thought. The subconscious does not differentiate between what is desired and what is dreaded. It only responds to the strongest emotional current. A person may visualize success but live in constant fear of failure, and it is the fear that becomes the prevailing vibration. What is feared most passionately is often what manifests, not because fate is cruel, but because the law is exact. It does not bring what is wanted, it brings what is expected. Fear also clouds intuition and obscures guidance. When the mind is troubled, it cannot hear the still small voice of inner wisdom. Decisions made from fear are reactive, hurried, and usually out of alignment with truth. A person acting from fear becomes tangled in confusion, doubt, and cycles of misdirection. This mental state is not conducive to receiving blessings because it is out of harmony with the divine pattern, which is always one of peace, order, and perfect timing. Until fear is quieted, the channel through which good flows remains partially blocked. Complaint is perhaps the most subtle yet dangerous of the three. It is a habitual declaration of dissatisfaction with life. Each time a person complains, they are affirming that something is wrong, that conditions are lacking, that they are separate from the good they desire. Complaint is a negative prayer. It calls more of the same into being. It focuses attention on limitation, which then expands in perception and experience. The more one complains about money, the more reasons arise to continue complaining. The more one speaks of bad luck, the more life seems to conform to that belief. Even light-hearted complaining reinforces the vibration of lack. The subconscious takes all speech seriously. It does not understand sarcasm or dramatization. If a person repeatedly says, "I'm always broke," "Nothing ever goes right," or "I just can't catch a break," the subconscious treats these as commands. It begins to organize the person's experience to fulfill them. This is not superstition, it is spiritual law functioning as it was created to do. Every word carries energy and energy organizes matter. Speak loss and loss begins to form. Speak delay and delay shows up. The tongue is a creative tool, not a toy. One cannot walk the path of success while speaking the language of defeat. This does not mean denying facts, but it does mean refusing to dwell on them. Divine law does not require us to lie, but it does require us to choose our focus. If a challenge arises, acknowledge it and then affirm its solution. If a delay occurs, declare divine timing at work. If a door closes, speak of a better one opening. This is not mere positive thinking, it is spiritual discipline. It is the conscious refusal to partner with fear, doubt, or complaint in creating your reality. The most potent transformations occur when a person becomes vigilant over their inner dialogue. Each thought is examined, each spoken word weighed. Not in fear of saying the wrong thing, but in reverence for the power of the word. When the tongue is used as an instrument of truth, it opens the way for miracles. When thought is guarded and uplifted, the subconscious becomes a garden of rich, fertile soil. The seeds of faith grow quickly there. The weeds of fear find no place to root. It is not enough to occasionally speak words of affirmation while unconsciously entertaining doubt. Faith must be made dominant. This does not mean one must never feel fear. It means fear is not allowed to rule. When it arises, it is observed, confronted, and released. When the mind begins to worry, it is gently but firmly redirected. When a complaint begins to form, it is replaced with a statement of gratitude. This is the inner work. This is the refinement of consciousness that makes one ready to receive their good. Some people believe they must earn their blessings through effort alone, yet unknowingly sabotage those efforts with inner resistance. They plan, work, strive, but speak against themselves with thoughts of unworthiness, fear of failure, or anger at circumstances. The law cannot override this internal contradiction. It can only reflect it. For every effort made in the outer world, there must be alignment within. Without that alignment, blessings are delayed, not by fate, but by vibration. The universe cannot give what the subconscious is instructed to reject. To remove blocks, one must become consistent in word and thought. Speak only what you want. Expect only what you desire. Think only in harmony with the outcome you seek. This does not mean pretending everything is perfect. It means aligning your energy with the truth that divine order is active, even if unseen. It means affirming the presence of solution, even when the problem appears large. It means trusting the process and refusing to curse the soil before the harvest has come. The creative process is delicate in the early stages. Just as a seedling can be destroyed by careless hands, a new desire can be weakened by careless thought. It must be protected from the harsh winds of doubt, fear, and complaint. It must be nurtured by truth, watered with faith, and guarded by silence when necessary. Not every thought needs to be spoken. Not every emotion needs to be indulged. The wise creator chooses which thoughts to energize and which words to release. The more you practice faith and guard your words, the less room there is for the lower vibrations. They lose their hold. Fear may knock, but it is not answered. Doubt may whisper, but it is not entertained. Complaint may tempt the tongue, but it is replaced with praise. This is not repression, it is redirection. It is the conscious use of the will to align with higher law. And in that alignment, blessings begin to flow not as isolated miracles, but as the natural result of inner harmony. Expectation is a magnetic force. It draws to you the very thing you prepare for in thought, word, and attitude. To expect good is to stand in spiritual agreement with divine supply. It is to believe without needing proof that something wonderful is already on its way. When you live in expectancy, you are not waiting in anxiety or need. You are resting in the quiet confidence that what you have asked for is already moving toward you. You are not commanding the universe, you are cooperating with it. You are not chasing the outcome, you are preparing the space for it to enter. Expectation opens the channels through which good can come. It creates an atmosphere of readiness, which allows you to recognize opportunity when it appears. Without expectation, blessings may pass unnoticed. The mind that expects nothing becomes blind to everything. It filters life through doubt and disbelief, unable to accept that the very thing it needs may be arriving in an unexpected form. But when the mind is trained to expect the best, it sees through the eyes of faith, it notices signs, it picks up on guidance, it acts in alignment with its own desires, not out of force, but from inner knowing. Surrender is the companion of expectation. It is not resignation or giving up. It is the spiritual release of control over the how and when. When you surrender, you do not stop moving forward. You simply stop pushing. You stop insisting that things happen on your terms and in your time. You trust that the divine pattern is unfolding in perfect sequence. You allow divine intelligence to orchestrate the details beyond your comprehension. While your human mind is limited in vision, the infinite sees all. It knows the shortest path, the right moment, the most graceful solution. When you surrender control, you step into flow. Things begin to align without struggle. People show up, ideas appear, circumstances shift. What once felt delayed now feels divinely timed. You find yourself in the right place at the right time, not by effort, but by guidance. This flow is not random. It is the natural rhythm of life when resistance is removed. To expect good and surrender the outcome is to place yourself directly in that rhythm. You stop interfering with the process. You stop digging up the seed to see if it is growing. You rest in confidence and let the law fulfill itself. Many people expect trouble, not blessing. They rehearse disappointment. They prepare for things to go wrong, believing it is a form of protection. But all they are doing is aligning with what they do not want. They fear loss and so attract loss. They anticipate delay and so create delay. The law responds to their most dominant expectation, not their occasional wish. It does not reward fear-based preparation. It mirrors belief. When someone says, "I knew that would happen," they are often right. Not because they are psychic, but because they expected it, spoke of it, planned for it, and emotionally accepted it as truth. Expectation must be chosen deliberately. It must be trained. It is not a mood, it is a discipline. You wake up and choose to expect good, regardless of yesterday. You look at a situation and choose to see the hidden good, regardless of appearances. You speak of outcomes you desire, not in fantasy, but in faith. You prepare your life for the very things you pray for. If you are asking for opportunity, do you keep your calendar open? If you are asking for love, do you make room in your heart? If you are asking for success, do you carry yourself like one who is ready to receive it? True expectation changes behavior. It is not passive. It causes you to act in ways that match your belief. A person who truly expects abundance will not speak of lack. One who expects healing will not talk endlessly about symptoms. One who expects success will not keep rehearsing failure. There is a deep consistency that emerges between belief, speech, and action. And this consistency is what creates powerful momentum. The subconscious receives a clear signal and responds with precision. You do not have to know how it will come. You only have to believe that it will. The human mind often wants details, a timeline, a plan, a promise. But spiritual law does not work through control. It works through trust. The one who expects good lets go of the need to manipulate the process. They follow inspiration, act on guidance, and allow the outcome to unfold in its own perfect way. Sometimes what arrives is even better than what was asked for. Sometimes the route is unfamiliar but leads to the exact right place. Expectation leaves room for miracles. Expectation also protects against discouragement. When delays occur or detours arise, the expectant mind does not panic. It understands that the delay is not denial. It recognizes that a redirection may be a form of protection. Because the root belief remains intact, the emotional reaction is balanced. There is no collapse into fear. There is no spiral of doubt. There is patience, not passive waiting, but active trust. This steadiness keeps the channel open and allows good to continue moving toward you without interruption. To expect good is also to declare that you are worthy of it. Many people unknowingly block their blessings with feelings of unworthiness. They believe good things are for others. They have accepted the lie that they must suffer, strive, or prove themselves before they can receive. But expectation is a bold declaration of worth. It says, "I am ready, I am open, I am deserving." This energy is magnetic. It sends a signal to the universe that you are no longer resisting your good. You are not chasing it. You are welcoming it. This energy of welcome must be cultivated. It is easy to fall into old patterns of doubt, fear, and control. But each time you catch yourself and choose a new thought, a new word, a new expectation, you shift the current. You realign with truth. You remind your subconscious and the universe of what you are preparing for. You affirm not only with your mouth, but with your posture, your habits, your decisions. Everything begins to reflect your new state of being. You must also expect the unexpected. Often blessings come in forms you did not imagine. The answer to your prayer may arrive through a different person, a different path, a different timing. If you are too rigid in your expectations, you may miss the gift. But if your expectation is rooted in trust rather than control, you remain open. You recognize the answer even when it wears a different face. You accept the unfolding even when it bends the rote. You stay in harmony with the outcome, even when the process surprises you. Gratitude strengthens expectation. When you give thanks before the blessing arrives, you amplify your belief. You say to the law, I already know this is mine. Gratitude is not an afterthought. It is a signal to the subconscious that the thing is already present in some form. It moves your focus from lack to fulfillment, from waiting to receiving. When you pair gratitude with expectation, you stand on the threshold of manifestation. The door opens not by force, but by faith. The blessing rushes in because the space has been made for it. The light enters because you prepared a place in the dark. Every man's life is a mirror, reflecting the thoughts he thinks, the words he speaks, and the beliefs he holds to be true. There is no accident, no misstep, and no limitation except those accepted in the subconscious as law. If a man declares he is weak, the universe, being the faithful servant, responds with circumstances to prove him right. But when he dares to affirm his strength, his intelligence, his divine right to clarity and purpose, then the very forces of life bend themselves to open the path before him. So many drift, day after day, led not by vision but by habit. They repeat old stories, wear inherited fears, and follow worn-out patterns as though they are bound by invisible cords. But I say unto you, the cords are but thoughts, and thoughts can be changed. For the mind is a mighty magnet. What it holds fast, it draws into the outer world. If it clings to confusion, confusion comes. If it clings to wisdom, then wisdom walks through the door. To be truly smart in life is not simply to memorize facts or win arguments. It is to know the truth, and to stand upon it when the world seems to shake. It is to train the mind as a sacred tool, not to serve fear but to serve faith. A smart personality, a strong one, does not chase validation from the outside world, but radiates authority from within. You do not have to struggle to become smart. You have only to align. Align your thoughts with power, your words with clarity, and your choices with truth. What you say to yourself in secret becomes the law of your life. Many say, I can't change, and so they cannot. But the one who speaks the word of transformation with conviction opens a channel for divine intelligence to flow. The rules you are about to receive are not simply ideas, but keys. Keys that unlock doors long closed by doubt, fear, and limitation. They are not to be memorized and forgotten, but lived. Each rule is a step upon the invisible staircase that leads from confusion to confidence, from drifting to direction, from noise to knowing. The world is filled with loud voices, empty opinions, and hurried actions. But the one who seeks true intelligence, who seeks strength rooted in purpose, must be still enough to hear the inner guidance. That voice never shouts. It whispers. And it always leads aright. There is no competition in divine mind. There is only expression, and your highest self is already wise, already capable, already strong. These rules do not give you something you lack. They remove the veils that hide what you already are. You are not here to live an ordinary life. You are here to live a life of revelation, conviction, and purpose. As you receive each rule, speak inwardly. This is mine by divine right. I receive it, I believe it, I live it. For when man declares it and holds fast in faith, all of life rushes forward to obey. Your thoughts shape your reality. This is not merely a poetic idea or a spiritual abstraction. It is the fundamental law by which every person creates his or her world. The outer world is not the cause of your inner experience. Rather, the inner world of thought is the architect, the builder, and the lawgiver of your visible conditions. Every situation, every relationship, every opportunity, and every obstacle has been drawn into your life by the magnetic power of thought. Thoughts are not idle. They are seeds. What you plant in the soil of the mind will, in time and without fail, become the harvest of your experience. You cannot think fear and expect peace. You cannot dwell on lack and expect abundance. You cannot rehearse weakness and wonder why strength eludes you. The subconscious mind is a perfect servant. It accepts every word you speak, every image you hold, and every belief you nurture as law. It does not argue. It does not reason. It simply says yes, and carries out the command without question. The man who says, "I always forget," soon finds his memory weakening. The woman who declares, "Nothing ever works out for me," walks into a life filled with evidence of failure. These are not punishments. They are fulfillments. Life does not mock us. It fulfills the orders we place, often unconsciously, through the persistent repetition of our thoughts. That is why the careless word, the flippant complaint, the silent worry, all carry power. And that is why true intelligence begins with the mastery of thought. There is no such thing as a neutral thought. Every thought carries vibration, and every vibration attracts its like. When you dwell on strength, courage, clarity, and joy, you invite people, ideas, and experiences into your life that match that frequency. When you indulge in thoughts of bitterness, jealousy, fear, or self-pity, you open the door to a darker reality, one that mirrors your inner conflict. You may not see the results immediately, for thoughts are seeds, and seeds take time to bear fruit. But rest assured, they never fail to bloom. The disciplined mind is the beginning of a strong and smart personality. Not a mind filled with rigid control, but a mind trained in truth. When a man chooses his thoughts with the same care he gives to his speech, his habits begin to change, his actions align with purpose, his words no longer sabotage him but become instruments of creation, his energy shifts, and people feel the difference without him saying a word. It is not enough to merely think positively for a few moments in the morning and then drift into anxiety by noon. The law of thought requires consistency, not perfection but faithfulness. The mind must be tended like a garden. If weeds of doubt and fear are allowed to grow unchecked, they will choke out the flowers of wisdom and clarity. But if one pulls the weeds daily, by replacing negative thoughts with affirming ones, by canceling every mental image of defeat and replacing it with a picture of triumph, then over time, the mind becomes fertile ground for success. One of the greatest misconceptions is that circumstances shape thought. But the wise understand that it is thought that shapes circumstance. Two people can face the same difficulty, one curses it, and it grows, the other blesses it, and it dissolves. Why? Because the second person does not identify with the condition. He recognizes it as temporary and refuses to give it power. His dominant thought is that of victory, and so victory finds him. Mental laziness is a common trap. The undisciplined mind wanders, worries, and wavers. It gets pulled into the world's chaos, distracted by gossip, fears, and predictions of doom. But the one who seeks to grow smarter must first grow still. Silence is the workshop of transformation. In the stillness, you can examine your thoughts without judgment. You can observe the patterns that have governed your choices. You can say to yourself, "This thought serves me," or "This thought no longer belongs." You become the master instead of the servant. The smart man is not the one who knows everything. He is the one who knows the law and uses it. He understands that the world does not respond to noise. It responds to vibration. And thought is vibration in its most concentrated form. It is the first cause, the invisible blueprint. The visible world is simply the result. The printout of the program you've been running inside your mind. Change the program and the printout must follow. There are those who say, "But I've been thinking good thoughts and nothing changes." But the truth is, the surface thought is not always the dominant one. You may speak words of success but harbor secret fear. You may visualize abundance while still believing in your unworthiness. The dominant thought is the one backed by emotion, repetition, and belief. It is the thought you return to again and again, especially when you are under pressure. That is the thought that shapes your reality. To change your outer world, you must go inward and change the roots. You must ask, what do I believe about myself, about life, about success, about others? For your thoughts are not floating in isolation. They are connected to deep currents of belief. When you find a belief that no longer serves you, cancel it, replace it. Speak a new word. Say, I am no longer available for that old story. And repeat the new truth until it takes root. Thought is magnetic. That which you think about, you draw closer. If you think long enough and clearly enough about any desire, with faith it must appear. But you must think from the end, not from the lack of it. Don't say, I hope one day I'll be strong. Say, I am strong now. The subconscious does not understand, someday. It understands only the present. That is why affirmations must be in the now. I am. I create. These are the thought forms of a smart personality. The transformation begins when you stop reacting to appearances and start acting from inner knowing. When things look chaotic, say, this is clearing the way. When a door shuts, say, something better is on its way. The thought is the command. The world obeys. A smart person does not argue with appearances. He declares the truth, holds to it, and watches the world reorganize itself accordingly. Each thought is like a brushstroke on the canvas of your life. What kind of picture are you painting? Is it one of power, order, and beauty? Or is it one of confusion, lack, and frustration? You are the artist, whether you know it or not. If you don't like what you see, do not curse the canvas, change your brush. Select a new color, begin again not with force, but with awareness. A strong and smart personality is not born, it is built, one thought at a time. The law of mind works the same for all, regardless of background, education, or status. It is impartial, like gravity. You do not have to earn the right to use it. You simply must become conscious of it. When you wake up to the power of your own thought, you stop giving away your power. You stop blaming, complaining, or waiting. You begin to intend. You begin to direct. You begin to think with purpose. And that purpose begins to shape your reality, like clay in the hands of the potter. True intelligence is alignment, not effort. It is not the frantic gathering of facts, the memorization of information, or the outward display of knowledge that makes one truly wise. Real intelligence is the inner harmony between thought, belief, word, and action. It is the ability to be so aligned with truth, with divine order, that right decisions, right people, and right timing unfold naturally, without force. The world teaches that effort is everything, that struggle is noble, and that grinding through life proves merit. But divine law teaches something higher, that alignment with truth removes resistance and allows intelligence to flow freely, effortlessly, and accurately. The man who is aligned with truth does not need to push. He does not need to manipulate, to convince, to fight his way to clarity. Instead, he tunes in, like a musician finding the right pitch. He adjusts his inner frequency until it matches the vibration of wisdom, peace, and strength. From that point of alignment, solutions appear without strain. The answers he once chased now come to him. The people he once tried to impress now feel drawn to him. The opportunities that seemed far off arrive without the exhaustion of pursuit. True intelligence comes not from trying to be smart, but from allowing intelligence to move through you. It is the deep knowing that does not argue. It is the calm certainty that does not compete. When the mind is aligned, the smallest idea can carry great power. When the mind is scattered, the most brilliant thought becomes diluted and confused. Intelligence is not in how loudly one speaks, but in how accurately one listens, to intuition, to guidance, to the silent promptings of divine mind. To align with truth is to clear away the noise. Most people are trying to think their way through life with minds full of fear, past stories, borrowed beliefs, and limiting assumptions. They layer thought upon thought, opinion upon opinion, until the inner channel is clogged. Then they wonder why their ideas don't work, why their plans fall apart, or why confusion clouds their judgment. But the wise one knows clarity is not something you create. It is something you reveal. Like wiping a foggy mirror, alignment clears the way so that truth may reflect through you with perfect accuracy. When a man is aligned, even the most complex problem is simplified. He does not try to calculate or analyze beyond his peace. He steps back inwardly and says, "There is an answer, and it is being revealed to me now." And because he has aligned his mind with faith rather than fear, the answer comes. Not always in the form he expected, not always on the schedule he demanded, but always with perfect timing and effect. That is intelligence. Not merely knowing facts, but knowing what to do with them, when to act, and when to wait. Alignment requires trust. The overthinker relies on effort, because he does not trust the unseen. He believes that unless he is constantly doing, calculating, and controlling, life will fall apart. But the truly smart individual knows that action without alignment is wasted energy. Effort without direction creates only exhaustion. Trust is not passivity, it is focused receptivity. It is choosing to believe that there is a greater intelligence operating through you and around you, and your task is not to outrun it but to align with it. There is a natural rhythm to all things. The tides, the seasons, the breath, the heartbeat, none of these require force. They operate according to divine timing. So too does the flow of intelligence. When you are in rhythm with divine mind, you say the right word without rehearsal, you meet the right person without searching, you read the right book at the right time. It is not chance. It is the fruit of alignment. You become an instrument tuned to the frequency of truth, and truth does not miss the mark. The world rewards effort, but the soul rewards alignment. The world may applaud the one who labors long hours and sacrifices peace for progress. But the soul knows when something is out of harmony. True intelligence honors that inner signal. It does not sacrifice joy for achievement, nor health for validation. A smart personality knows that productivity without purpose is hollow, and that wisdom without peace is unstable. When you are aligned, even rest becomes intelligent. Even silence becomes action. You cannot fake alignment. It is not an outer posture but an inner condition. It is not the smile you wear or the words you speak. It is the energy behind them. People feel when someone is aligned. They may not understand it consciously, but they are drawn to it. There is a calm authority, a quiet clarity, a presence that requires no announcement. Alignment speaks before you do. It walks into the room ahead of you. It organizes the atmosphere. And it cannot be mimicked by effort alone. Alignment brings speed without hurry. It brings accuracy without stress. The mind aligned with truth makes fewer mistakes because it is not operating from fear. Decisions made in fear are rushed, narrow, and reactive. Decisions made from alignment are steady, expansive, and effective. The aligned person can see the bigger picture. They are not caught in the swirl of urgency. They trust the process because they are aligned with the process. This kind of intelligence is available to everyone, but few seek it because the ego resists surrender. The ego prefers effort, because effort feels like control. But alignment requires surrender, surrender of the old stories, the limiting beliefs, the compulsive thoughts. It requires you to stop arguing with life and start cooperating with it. It asks you to release your grip on the how and focus on the what. The how belongs to divine mind. Your task is to remain aligned with the vision, the truth, the essence of what you desire. You align by letting go. You align by choosing stillness over struggle. You align by choosing clarity over clutter. The strong and smart personality is not the one who pushes hardest, but the one who is most attuned. They do not need to chase success, for success is drawn to alignment. They do not need to force relationships, for the right ones come with ease. They do not need to impress, because their presence speaks truth. True intelligence is the quiet power behind inspired action. It is the knowing that precedes the doing. It is the state of being that magnetizes solutions, connections, and breakthroughs. The aligned individual is not frantic or frantic seeming. They are steady, grounded, clear. Their intelligence is not loud, but it is unmistakable. They do not waste energy on proving. They simply are. Effort may achieve temporary results, but alignment creates lasting impact. It sustains the journey without burnout. It opens doors that effort alone cannot. It brings the right people at the right time, because those people are also aligned. There is no competition in true intelligence, for there is room for all in the divine design. Each aligned individual is a unique expression, and in that uniqueness they are irreplaceable. They do not need to compete. They need only to be clear and stay clear. Thought, feeling, word, and action. When these are in agreement, you are aligned. When you think one thing, feel another, speak a third, and act in contradiction, you are fragmented. Fragmentation creates resistance. Alignment creates flow. In the flow of alignment, intelligence is not something you access. It is something you become. Words have power. Speak only what you desire. Every word is a decree, a seed planted in the fertile soil of the subconscious mind, and whether spoken casually, passionately, or unconsciously, it begins to take root. Most people are unaware of the immense creative force that rests in their tongue. They speak out of habit, emotion, or imitation, not realizing that every word sets spiritual law into motion. The universe is always listening, and it does not distinguish between a joke, a complaint, or a declaration. It responds to vibration, to intent, to energy behind the word. When you say, "I am tired," "I am unlucky," "I can't," you are not simply describing a moment. You are affirming a condition, granting it identity and persistence. The phrase "I am" is the most powerful opening in speech because it invokes the name of being, the divine presence within. Whatever follows, "I am," begins to take shape in your experience. When you say, "I am confused," the law begins to show you more confusion. When you say, "I am always late," life arranges itself to prove you right. This is not superstition. It is law, unfailing and neutral, responding with exact precision to your own affirmations. The wise one watches their words as a sculptor watches each movement of the chisel. Words carve reality. They create bridges or barriers. They summon or repel. Words are never lost, they move outward and return, often multiplied. That is why careless speech is not harmless. It may seem small to say, "I never win," or "Nobody listens to me." But these words are magnetic. They draw toward you the very things you claim to reject. The subconscious does not know humor, it knows repetition. It does not judge whether something is good or bad, helpful or harmful. It only knows. This is what you have said. Therefore it must be so. To speak wisely is to live wisely. The one who controls their tongue begins to control their life. This is not about silence. It is about precision. It is about speaking only that which builds, blesses, and aligns with your true desires. If you want peace, speak peace. If you want strength, declare strength. If you want clarity, affirm clarity. Do not describe your life as it is, speak it as you wish it to be. The spoken word is not merely descriptive, it is directive. It sets things in motion, both within you and around you. There is a vibratory field that surrounds every word. Some words carry the frequency of healing, and when spoken, they calm the atmosphere and lift the energy. Others carry the vibration of fear, and they lower the frequency of the room. The words you use not only affect your own consciousness, but also those around you. A harsh word spoken in frustration can linger long after the moment has passed. A word of encouragement can awaken hidden strength in someone's heart. Words are not passive, they are tools, instruments, forces. To build a smart and strong personality, one must become a master of their own language. This mastery begins not with the outer voice, but with the inner dialogue. What are you saying to yourself when no one else is listening? Are you building or breaking? Are you affirming your strength or reinforcing your weakness? The inner speech is often more powerful than anything said aloud, because it is constant and unquestioned. To align with power, you must discipline your inner voice. You must catch every negative phrase and replace it with truth. You must stop narrating your limitations and start scripting your liberation. It is not enough to wish for something while speaking against it. Many people say, "I want success," and then constantly speak of how hard life is, how competitive the world has become, how unlucky they have been. This contradiction splits their energy and cancels their power. The universe listens not to what you want, but to what you affirm. Your dominant declaration becomes your reality. If you desire something, speak only in alignment with that desire. Do not mix your message with doubt. Do not dilute your word with contradiction. Words also carry the energy of faith or fear. When you speak with faith, you speak with certainty, with authority, with creative command. When you speak with fear, you scatter your energy, you weaken your intention, and you invite confusion. Faith-filled words carry weight. They settle into the subconscious like sacred commands. They do not beg or plead, they declare. They do not wait for evidence, they become the evidence. The smart individual understands that the word spoken with faith is like a key that unlocks the next door. It is a signal that says, "This is what I believe, this is what I accept, and this is what I now receive." The discipline of the word is also the discipline of attention. You must pay attention to what comes out of your mouth. If you speak habitually, you live habitually. If you speak with intention, you live intentionally. This does not mean every sentence must be perfect, but it does mean you must choose your language as you would choose your companions. With discernment, with awareness, with purpose. Speak less of what you fear and more of what you love. Speak less of the problem and more of the solution. Speak less of the past and more of what is becoming. Many people rehearse their pain by repeating it endlessly in conversation. They tell the same story of betrayal, of lack, of loss, over and over, not realizing that the story itself becomes their prison. The more you tell a story, the more it becomes etched into your identity. The more you relive it in words, the more you anchor it in your reality. The path to liberation is not found in telling the old story better, but in speaking a new story altogether. Say, "That was then, this is now. I am writing a new script. I am speaking new words. I am stepping into a new frequency. Bless your life with your words. Bless your body. Bless your path. Bless your finances, your relationships, your mind. Speak words of praise over your journey, even before you see the results. The spoken word prepares the soil for manifestation. What you speak today becomes the atmosphere of tomorrow. Say, "Everything is working for me." Say, "I am guided, I am protected, I am favored." Say, "The right people are finding me. The right doors are opening. The right timing is unfolding." These are not fantasies. They are the verbal blueprints of your future reality. Even in moments of challenge, do not let your words fall into fear. Say, "This too shall pass." Say, "There is something good in this, and I am finding it." Say, "Nothing is working against me. Everything is leading me closer to my highest good." These words create spiritual traction. They lift you above the appearance and align you with the truth. They remind you that you are not a victim of circumstance, but a creator with divine authority. The one who learns to speak with power cannot stay in weakness for long. The energy of their word becomes the energy of their world. Words shape thought, and thought shapes reality. When you begin to speak differently, you begin to think differently. And when your thinking changes, your choices change. You no longer settle. You no longer repeat cycles. You no longer tolerate what doesn't serve your highest vision. Your word becomes law in your life, and that law begins to attract a new pattern, a new rhythm, a new result. Energy is contagious. Protect your inner atmosphere. Every human being carries an energy field, invisible to the physical eye but deeply felt by the intuition. This energy is not abstract, it is real, it is magnetic, and it influences every interaction, every decision, and every outcome in your life. Just as a room can feel warm or heavy without a word being spoken, so too can a person carry lightness or weight in their energy, and that energy either uplifts or drains. To build a strong and smart personality, you must understand that your inner atmosphere, your emotional and spiritual climate, must be guarded with the same care as your physical space. People often guard their time, their money, their possessions, but leave their energy unprotected. They allow anyone to speak into their space, to dump fears, to sow doubt, to criticize dreams, to agitate peace. This is not compassion, this is unconsciousness. You were not created to be a dumping ground for the world's confusion. You are not here to carry the emotional baggage of others while sacrificing your own alignment. To protect your energy is to honor the divine within you. It is to recognize that not every voice deserves access, not every presence deserves entrance, and not every invitation deserves acceptance. Sensitivity is not weakness, it is awareness. The one who feels deeply is not fragile, they are finely tuned. They perceive subtleties, they absorb vibration, they read silence. But without protection, sensitivity becomes a burden. You must learn to filter energy the way the body filters toxins, consciously, regularly, and with sacred boundaries. You cannot grow if your field is clouded. You cannot hear divine guidance if your mind is full of noise from others. You cannot manifest peace if your atmosphere is polluted with chaos. Protecting your energy is not rejection. It is redirection. It is choosing not to engage with what drains, distracts, or distorts. It is not about judgment, it is about clarity. There are people who will not understand your vision, not because they are bad, but because they are not meant to. There are conversations that will not nourish you, environments that will not elevate you, and energies that will not harmonize with you. Your task is not to convince or convert, but to remain aligned. You do not owe your presence to every situation. You do not owe your explanation to every opinion. There are energies that uplift. The laughter of a true friend, the stillness of early morning, the words of wisdom that stir the soul, these fill your cup. They strengthen your field. They charge your atmosphere. And there are energies that deplete. The constant complainer, the fearful doubter, the critical whisperer. These do not merely speak, they extract. Every interaction is an exchange. You must learn to ask, what am I receiving, and what am I giving? Is this leaving me clearer or cloudier? Stronger or smaller, aligned or scattered? Your inner atmosphere is like a garden. If you leave it untended, weeds will grow, worry, resentment, confusion, fatigue. These are not signs of failure, they are signs of neglect. They are the result of external influence entering without permission. To tend the garden is to begin each day with clarity. It is to meditate, to pray, to affirm, to breathe, to align before the world pulls you in 1,000 directions. It is to check in with your spirit before checking in with your screen. It is to ask, how do I feel right now? Is this mine, or have I absorbed something from someone else? You must learn to return to yourself again and again. Throughout the day, not all noise is yours. Not all anxiety belongs to you. Many carry the emotions of others without knowing it, like wearing someone else's coat and wondering why it does not fit. Empaths, dreamers, healers, those who are open-hearted often become energetic sponges, soaking in the fear of the collective, the wounds of their loved ones, the chaos of the culture. But awareness brings choice. You can feel deeply without being overwhelmed. You can hold space without losing your own center. You can love others while still protecting your own light. Energy is contagious, and so is peace. When your field is clear, others feel it. Your presence calms, your words heal, your silence speaks, but you cannot share what you do not have. You must first become a sanctuary before you can offer sanctuary to others. You must first dwell in your own peace before you can lead others into theirs. This is not selfishness. It is stewardship. You are not here to burn out in the name of being helpful. You are here to radiate from overflow, not depletion. There will be days when your energy is challenged, when chaos presses in, when emotions rise, when others try to provoke or pull you. These are the tests of your alignment. In these moments, do not react. Retreat inward, breathe, pause. Declare, I protect my peace. I release what is not mine. I return to center. This is not escape, it is mastery. The strong and smart personality knows when to engage and when to step back. They know that not every battle is theirs, not every comment deserves a reply, and not every invitation deserves a yes. Discernment is the guardian of energy. Discernment does not ask. It asks, is this aligned? Not every exciting opportunity is meant for you. Not every emotional appeal is wise. Not every passionate conversation is fruitful. The discerning individual knows that energy is currency, and they spend it with purpose. They do not allow their field to be hijacked by urgency or drama. They remain rooted, grounded, clear. Clearing your field is as important as guarding it. Throughout the day, cleanse your energy the way you cleanse your hands. Breathe deeply. Visualize light moving through you. Affirm your alignment. Let go of what is not yours. Speak release. Declare clarity. Whether you walk in nature, sit in stillness, or move your body, do something to reset the flow. Just as the body accumulates toxins, the spirit accumulates residue. The act of clearing is not luxury. It is necessity. There are times when even loved ones carry heavy energy. To protect your field does not mean you withdraw love. It means you hold love from a place of strength. You can be compassionate without being consumed. You can support without absorbing. You can listen without merging. Set the intention: I love them, but I do not carry what is not mine. I bless them, but I remain in my light. I hold them in grace, but I choose to stay clear. Your energy is your responsibility. You are the gatekeeper. No one else can manage your inner atmosphere for you. The world will always have noise, confusion, opinion, pressure. But your peace is your power. When your energy is clean, your decisions are clear. When your atmosphere is protected, your intuition is accurate. When your spirit is undisturbed, your strength becomes undeniable. Even the environments you enter have an energetic influence. Spaces carry memory. Rooms hold vibration. Before you enter, pause and check in. Declare: I bring peace into this place. I do not absorb, I transform. I move through this space as a carrier of clarity. When your field is strong, you become the thermostat, not the thermometer. You set the tone, rather than react to it. You walk in power, not in passive reception. Relationships will test your energy. Conversations will invite you into lower frequencies. Social settings may tempt you to shrink or perform. But the one who has done the inner work knows how to hold their field. They know how to remain authentic in the midst of performance. They know how to stay rooted while others sway. They do not speak from reaction but from revelation. They do not mirror chaos. They reflect light. Their presence is medicine, not noise. Their energy speaks before their words do. Stillness is the highest intelligence. In the stillness, the noise of the outer world fades, and the voice of the inner world rises. Most people are swept away by the current of urgency, movement, and distraction, mistaking constant motion for meaningful progress. They believe that if they are busy, they are building something. But true strength is not born from busyness. It is born in the silence between the breaths, in the pause between thoughts, in the sacred space where nothing is forced and everything is heard. The smart and strong personality does not react from chaos. It responds from clarity. And clarity comes not from overthinking, but from stillness. This stillness is not inactivity. It is not laziness, nor is it passivity. It is the state of deep alignment with self and source, where action flows from wisdom, and wisdom is born from observation, not impulse. Stillness is where the shallow waters of mind chatter quiet down, and the deeper waters of intuition rise. In a world that glorifies noise, stillness becomes rebellion. To sit quietly, to do nothing outwardly, to simply be, is seen as unproductive by those who are ruled by the outer world. But in truth, nothing is more powerful than the one who can dwell in stillness without fear. That one is not seeking validation, not addicted to performance, not moved by comparison. They have accessed a state of inner sovereignty that cannot be purchased, imitated, or stolen. It is cultivated in silence, nourished in solitude, refined through self-awareness. Most people fear stillness because they have never made peace with themselves. They use noise to escape what stillness reveals. But the one who desires growth must pass through that gate. They must sit with their thoughts, face their fears, listen to their own breath, and allow the discomfort to rise. For in that rising it begins to dissolve. Stillness does not suppress, it purifies. It shows you what needs to be seen, what needs to be released, and what longs to be remembered. The strong personality is not the loudest in the room. It is the one who knows when to speak and when to stay silent. It is the one who has access to silence, even in the midst of a storm. Stillness becomes a sanctuary, a personal temple within. In that temple, answers arrive without effort. Ideas come with ease. Creativity flows not through force but through openness. This is the intelligence of stillness. It allows the soul to speak in its own language. Stillness heightens perception. When you are still, you notice what others miss. You hear the tone behind the words. You see the patterns others are blind to. You sense energy shifts before they become visible. Stillness turns you into a silent observer, and observation brings wisdom. The one who observes does not get entangled in drama. They do not jump to conclusions. They watch, wait, and then act with precision. Their timing becomes impeccable because they are not rushing. They are aligned. In the stillness, you realize that many battles are illusions. Many fears are echoes. Many urgencies are distractions in disguise. You begin to separate what is essential from what is noise. You begin to let go of things that once felt important, but are now seen as shallow echoes of your old self. Stillness reveals the difference between reaction and response. Reaction is driven by emotion, fear, and ego. Response is born from stillness, intention, and inner truth. The smartest individuals are those who know how to pause. Before answering, they pause. Before making a choice, they go inward. They trust the silence to speak. In that pause, they bypass confusion and arrive at truth. They are not afraid of being misunderstood. Not afraid of appearing slow, because they know that wisdom is not rushed. It arrives in its own time, through its own channel, and only in the still mind can it be received. Stillness also teaches you patience. In the silence, you learn that not everything needs to be fixed. Not every situation needs your control. Some things need space. Some solutions emerge when you stop chasing them. Some truths unfold when you stop trying to shape them. The still person becomes a vessel through which divine timing flows. They are not stagnant. They are surrendered. They do not force doors open. They wait until the door that is truly theirs swings wide without resistance. To cultivate stillness is to reclaim your energy. Most of your energy is lost in scattered thoughts, fragmented focus, unnecessary conversations, and digital distractions. In stillness, the pieces of your energy return. Your mind slows, your emotions settle, your nervous system relaxes. Your body softens. You begin to access reserves of strength and insight that were buried beneath the clutter. You become more whole, more grounded, more magnetic. Stillness is the foundation of true intelligence, because it reconnects you to the higher intelligence that flows through all things. In stillness, you realize you are not separate. You are part of something vast, ordered, and wise. The answers you seek are not far, they are waiting in the silence. But you must be willing to stop, to listen, to receive. In a world that screams, whispering becomes sacred. In a world that races, resting becomes radical. In a world that clings, letting go becomes liberation. The mind will resist stillness at first. It will stir, argue, distract, agitate. This is natural, it has been trained for noise. But stillness is not about forcing the mind to stop. It is about watching it without attachment. Let the thoughts come, and let them pass. Sit with the discomfort. Breathe through the restlessness. Over time, the noise settles like sediment in water, and the clarity emerges. And in that clarity, you begin to see with new eyes, hear with new ears, feel with new depth. Stillness also sharpens intuition. When the external world is quiet, the internal compass becomes audible. You begin to feel the yes and the no. You begin to trust the nudge, the pull, the subtle knowing that defies logic. The more still you become, the more sensitive you are to divine guidance. You no longer need to ask others for every answer. You start to receive your own. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is remembering that the same intelligence that governs the stars also lives in you, and it speaks not in shouts but in whispers. In stillness, you also make peace with timing. You stop comparing your journey to others. You understand that growth is cyclical. That sometimes you are meant to bloom, and sometimes you are meant to rest. That the seasons of your life have rhythm, and you don't have to rush the unfolding. This patience becomes power. it becomes resilience, it becomes grace. Stillness creates space, and space is necessary for creation. A cluttered mind cannot innovate. A restless heart cannot love freely. A hurried soul cannot connect deeply. In stillness, space is made, space for healing, space for ideas, space for miracles. The smartest life is not the one filled with the most noise. It is the one rooted in the deepest silence. Not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of presence. The silence where the truth of who you are can finally be heard. Beloved, there is no desire planted in the human heart that does not carry with it the seed of fulfillment. Every longing, every dream, every silent wish is but the whisper of the infinite, calling you to claim what is already yours by divine right. The lottery, though clothed in numbers and chance, is not truly a game of luck. It is a mirror, reflecting back the consciousness with which you approach it. For life itself is a great lottery, and the ticket is drawn not by accident, but by the law of mind, the law of faith, the law of unwavering word. The outer world bows to the inner decree. Whatever you speak with authority, believing it to be so, must eventually crystallize into form. When one says, "I am rich in divine substance," he aligns himself with the inexhaustible treasure, house of the Spirit. When one declares, "Every door I knock upon swings wide," then the avenues of supply rush to meet him, as surely as the rivers hasten to the sea. The numbers that others see as random, the drawing that others call uncertain, become to the illumined soul nothing but symbols in the great tapestry of order. To win is not to take from another, nor to grasp with anxious hands, but to allow the stream of prosperity to flow unblocked. For lack is an illusion, a shadow with no permanence. Abundance is the eternal reality. The lottery is but one channel through which abundance may choose to pour, if the consciousness be prepared. One need not strain, one need not fear, one need not calculate. The soul that is poised, that speaks the word of victory without doubt or double-mindedness, compels the universe to arrange itself for demonstration. You do not play against fate, you play with divine law. The winning ticket is already in your vibration, waiting for the moment when belief becomes certainty. When you bless the idea of wealth instead of condemning it. When you rejoice in another's gain as though it were your own. When you walk as though your pockets are already filled with golden harvest, then no earthly barrier can withstand the decree of Spirit spoken through you. The key is not in the numbers, but in the knowing. To seek the numbers without aligning with the infinite source is to grasp at shadows. But to speak the word of abundance, to affirm that divine selection is already made in your favor, is to command the substance of the unseen into visibility. Each thought of confidence, each affirmation of supply, is a ticket more certain than any paper slip. Therefore, when you approach the lottery, do not approach as a beggar at the gate, but as the heir of a great kingdom. You are not appealing to chance. You are reminding yourself of your covenant with infinite good. Say within your heart, "What is mine comes to me by divine right, swiftly and under grace." And so it shall be. Abundance is the eternal reality, lack is only illusion. The universe is created out of boundless supply, an infinite substance that knows no diminishment. Every star that shines, every ocean wave that rolls, every grain of sand upon the shore proclaims the ceaselessness of this great outpouring. Life itself is a current, always moving, always giving, always pressing forward to express more of itself. To believe in lack is to step out of harmony with the great symphony of creation. For the infinite does not withhold, the infinite does not measure, the infinite does not ration. It is man's belief in separation, man's acceptance of fear, that casts the shadow of want upon his path. But shadows have no substance. The moment the light of truth is allowed to shine, the illusion dissolves, and abundance reveals itself as the natural condition of all being. The mind that dwells upon shortage attracts shortage, for thought is a magnet. The man who continually says, "I never have enough," inscribes that decree upon the ethers, and the law of correspondence rushes to confirm his word. But the man who knows, deep within, that supply is inexhaustible, that he stands as heir to the wealth of the universe, carries within him a vibration that no outer condition can deny. The field responds to the seed, and the harvest mirrors the planting. If one sows fear, one reaps want. If one sows confidence, one reaps plenty. The law is impartial, ever faithful, and cannot fail to bring forth after its kind. Every appearance of poverty is a mask that hides treasure beneath. A desert may look barren, yet beneath the soil lie rivers of water waiting to spring forth. The outward picture of limitation is but a temporary reflection of inward belief. When the inner picture is transformed, the outer must follow, just as surely as dawn follows night. The transformation does not come through anxious striving or desperate grasping, but through calm recognition. All that belongs to infinite spirit belongs also to its child. No man need chase prosperity, he need only awaken to it. As a sleeper awakens to the morning sun that was shining long before his eyes were open. Consider the trees that line the streets, their branches heavy with leaves. They do not worry that their supply of green will run short, for the life force within them is constant, unbroken, renewing season after season. Consider the bird that sings at dawn. It does not rise with the burden of doubt upon its wings, questioning whether there will be seed upon the ground or fruit upon the branch. It sings because it knows, without knowing how it knows, that provision is certain. So too is man designed to live in certainty, to rest in the assurance that he is sustained by a source that cannot be exhausted. Lack, then, is not truth, but a distortion of perception, a veil of fear that must be lifted by the word of faith. The illusion of lack often comes dressed as evidence: empty pockets, unpaid bills, closed doors, withheld opportunities, but evidence of the senses is not final authority. The eyes may testify to want, but the spirit testifies to fullness. The ears may hear the clamor of debt, but the inner ear hears the quiet voice saying, "All that I have is thine." To mistake the shadow for the reality is to live in bondage to appearances. But to recognize that appearances are plastic, malleable, subject to the higher decree of consciousness, is to begin walking the path of mastery. The outer world, no matter how fixed it may appear, is but clay in the hands of the potter, and the potter is thought, shaped by the word, directed by faith. There are those who cling to the belief that abundance belongs only to the few, that prosperity is the privilege of chance or birth. Yet the sun does not shine on one roof alone. It casts its rays freely, without prejudice, without withholding. The rain does not choose a single field to bless. It falls upon all, nourishing seed without favoritism. So too does the substance of spirit flow equally, endlessly, available to every soul who dares to claim it. The measure is not set by the universe, but by the vessel we bring. To one who carries a thimble of expectation, the river seems meager. To one who brings a great urn of faith, the same river overflows with endless supply. Man is forever surrounded by the riches of the invisible. Ideas, opportunities, inspirations, doors yet unseen, all hover in the realm of the unseen, waiting to be called forth. The treasure of life is not buried in the ground, nor locked in the vaults of banks, but vibrates in the field of consciousness. As one raises his vision from fear to faith, from complaint to gratitude, from doubt to certainty, he strikes the match that ignites the hidden storehouses. That which appeared absent begins to appear, not as a miracle against the law, but as the natural unfolding of the law. Gratitude is the golden key that unlocks the illusion of lack. To bless what is already in hand, no matter how small, is to multiply it. To complain over what seems missing is to shut the door upon increase. The one who looks at a single coin and declares, "This is the seed of endless wealth, and I rejoice in it," invites the floodgates of supply. The one who looks at the same coin and sighs, "This is not enough," condemns it to remain small. The law answers not to the amount, but to the attitude. Gratitude declares abundance, and so abundance reveals itself. When man looks at the universe through the lens of truth, he sees no boundaries, no shortages, no ceilings. He sees the eternal flow, the ceaseless rhythm of giving and receiving. The rivers do not hoard their water, yet the oceans are never dry. The flowers release their fragrance, yet their beauty is not diminished. The stars give their light, yet their radiance is never spent. The universe loses nothing by giving, and man, made in its image, loses nothing by receiving. There is no competition in truth, no struggle for a limited prize, no danger of depletion. What is infinite cannot be divided. What is eternal cannot be diminished. What is real cannot be lost. Therefore abundance stands as the eternal fact, while lack trembles as the fleeting dream. The dream dissolves the moment one awakens. To awaken is to know, to declare, to align with the inexhaustible source that forever whispers, all is yours. All is full. All is now. The spoken word crystallizes into visible form. Every utterance is a seed cast into the fertile soil of the unseen, and that soil knows only one law to bring forth after its kind. Words are not idle vibrations passing through the air. They are commands issued to the universe, decrees that summon substance from the invisible to the visible. When the tongue speaks, it shapes energy into patterns, and those patterns must eventually appear in the outer life. A careless word brings careless conditions. A fearful word brings fearful circumstances. A confident word builds confident pathways. Each sentence spoken with feeling engraves itself upon the fabric of existence, awaiting the moment of manifestation. The power of the word has been hidden in plain sight since the dawn of creation. Let there be light, and light appeared. Not by toil, not by struggle, but by command. The same principle courses through every life, for man is made in the image of the Creator, and thus his word carries the echo of that first decree. What one repeatedly declares becomes the framework upon which reality takes shape. To say, I am strong, clothes the body in strength. To say, I am weak, drains vitality and attracts frailty. To speak, I always succeed, draws opportunities into alignment. To mutter, nothing ever works for me, drives opportunities away. The universe listens not to fleeting wishes, but to steady affirmations charged with belief. A spoken word lingers far beyond the moment it leaves the lips. It travels outward, seeking fulfillment, resonating with all things of like vibration. To speak of abundance calls abundance to attention. To speak of harmony calls harmony to one's side. To complain of misfortune summons more of the same. For the law is exact and impartial. Just as a seed of rose cannot grow into an oak, so a word of doubt cannot blossom into triumph. Each sound carries within it its own destiny, and the speaker becomes the sower of his own harvest. The unseen responds more swiftly than the seen. Often the lips speak lightly, not realizing the weight of their decree. A man says, "This always happens to me," in jest or frustration, not perceiving that he has issued an order to life. Another says, "I never have enough," and the unseen hastens to arrange circumstances to prove him right. A woman declares, "Money comes to me easily," and avenues of supply open in unexpected ways. A child chants, "I am loved, I am happy," and joy runs to meet him. The law works whether one is conscious of it or not, just as fire burns whether one touches it knowingly or by accident. The wise learn to guard the lips, to let only words of truth and power pass through them, for they know that every word is destiny taking shape. Silence itself has power, but when the silence is broken with declaration, creation is quickened. Words are thought clothed in sound, thought given wings to travel faster, reach farther, strike deeper. Thought alone may hover in the realm of the unseen, but spoken thought sets it into motion with redoubled force. To affirm silently has strength, but to affirm aloud makes the body, the breath, and the vibration all united in expression. The cells of the body hear the command, the atmosphere hears it, the subconscious mind hears it, and the ethers themselves are imprinted with the decree. To say, "I walk in victory," is not merely to express a wish. It is to impress victory upon every layer of being. Every culture has known, in some form, the sacredness of the word. Blessings are words, curses are words, songs of praise are words, vows are words, contracts, oaths, promises. All these shape the destiny of men and nations. A blessing spoken over bread multiplies the nourishment. A curse muttered in anger withers the heart. The difference lies not in chance, but in the vibration carried by the utterance. High words lift, low words pull downward. Words of truth align with eternal law, words of falsehood breed confusion. The wise use their lips as instruments of creation, not weapons of destruction. Even the casual repetition of words builds form in silence. To say, I can't, day after day builds a wall before the path. To say, I can, chisels a doorway through the wall. Each repetition deepens the groove, strengthens the pattern, cements the vibration until it becomes undeniable reality. No outer obstacle can withstand the persistent spoken decree. Mountains crumble before the steady echo of the word that refuses to change. To speak once may plant a seed, but to speak continuously waters it until the fruit is inevitable. There is no neutrality in the word. Each utterance leans either toward increase or decrease, construction or destruction, freedom or bondage. Idle chatter, gossip, self-deprecation, fear-laden talk, these are not harmless. They are blueprints written carelessly. And life obeys them just as faithfully as it obeys the words of strength and power. The careless speaker wonders why misfortune seems to follow him, not realizing he has called it by name again and again. The conscious speaker guards his lips, speaks only what he desires, blesses even the smallest fragment of good, and in so doing multiplies it until his whole life glows with demonstration. The body itself bends to the spoken word. To tell the body, I am sick, is to issue it a command to weaken. To tell it, I am whole, I am strong, I am filled with life, is to awaken healing forces from within. Cells hear the decree, organs respond, nerves adjust, energy realigns. The subconscious mind, the faithful servant, hears no jest, recognizes no sarcasm, accepts the spoken word as law, and works tirelessly to bring it to pass. Thus the tongue can be the healer or the destroyer, depending on the decree. Prosperity too is summoned or dismissed by the spoken word. To say, I can never afford this, engraves limitation upon the path. To say, all that is mine by divine right comes to me now, clears the way for supply to flow. To speak, money comes easily and frequently, sets up vibrations of expectancy that attract opportunities unseen before. The outer circumstances may appear unchanged at first, but the word is already working beneath the surface, weaving events, aligning people, arranging situations until the declaration becomes tangible fact. The atmosphere of a home, the spirit of a family, the mood of a workplace, all are shaped by the words spoken within them. A household filled with words of kindness, encouragement, gratitude, and faith becomes radiant, harmonious, prosperous. A household filled with complaint, criticism, fear, and doubt becomes heavy, stagnant, troubled. The words spoken between walls saturate the very air, imprint the very objects, linger in silence until they bloom into circumstances that mirror their vibration. Thus the spoken word is never lost. It is substance set in motion. Sound clothed with power, energy charged with destiny. What is decreed with conviction must take shape and form, for the law cannot be mocked. To speak is to sow, and to sow is to reap. Every phrase uttered is a brushstroke upon the canvas of reality. And the picture that appears is nothing more, and nothing less than the reflection of the words that created it. Prosperity flows when resistance is released. The natural state of life is abundance, just as the natural state of the river is to move freely toward the sea. It is only when dams are built or channels are blocked that the river seems to lose its power. The flow has never ceased. It is man's interference that alters its appearance. In the same way, prosperity is always moving toward us, always pressing at the door of consciousness, eager to enter, but it is resistance, born of fear, doubt, worry, resentment, or unworthiness, that holds it back. When the barriers are lifted, when the soul ceases to oppose its own good, supply rushes in with swiftness and ease. Resistance wears many disguises. It may appear as the belief that one must struggle endlessly to succeed. It may appear as guilt, whispering that it is selfish to desire wealth. It may appear as envy, secretly condemning those who prosper. It may appear as fear of change, clinging to the known even when the known is lack. Each form of resistance is like a stone placed in the channel of a stream. One stone may not stop the current, but stone upon stone builds a wall, and soon the waters seem to dry. The truth is that the waters are waiting behind the obstruction, gathering force, ready to surge forward the instant the barrier is removed. To release resistance is not to labor, but to let go. It is to cease struggling, to stop affirming limitation, to quit fighting the very law that is trying to bless us. It is the surrender of fear into faith, the dropping of doubt for certainty, the choice to believe in the inexhaustible nature of supply. Resistance clings tightly, afraid to trust, but release opens the hands and says, I accept. In that moment, the blocked channels open, and what seemed like delay dissolves into swift manifestation. Prosperity does not respond to tension, it responds to receptivity. The soil does not yield to the hand that beats upon it, but to the hand that gently sows the seed and trusts the rain. The tree does not grow taller by force of will, but by resting in the steady rhythm of sunlight and soil. So too does man prosper, not by grasping, not by pushing, not by resisting, but by harmonizing with the flow already moving toward him. To affirm, I am one with the flow of divine abundance, is to step into the current and allow it to carry him where toil alone could never take him. Many believe prosperity is withheld, that some great cosmic hand doles it out sparingly, testing who is worthy. Yet the universe withholds nothing. It is man who withholds from himself through inner opposition. A mind filled with resentment toward wealth will unconsciously repel it. A heart heavy with fear of poverty will keep prosperity at arm's length, even while longing for it. An inner voice saying, I do not deserve, will quietly close doors that might otherwise have opened. Releasing resistance means forgiving wealth itself, forgiving others for their prosperity, forgiving the self for past mistakes, and standing at last in innocence before the law of supply. The river of prosperity is impartial. It does not choose whom it will bless, for it flows by nature. If some appear rich and others poor, it is not because the river favors one over another, but because some have dug channels wide and clear, while others have blocked their channels with fear and false belief. The law is the same for all. When resistance is dropped, the flow must rush in, for there is nothing left to stop it. To release resistance, one must first recognize it. Fear-filled words like, I can't, I never, it's too hard, are signs of a dam being built in consciousness. Doubt-filled thoughts such as, it might work for others but not for me, are stones placed in the stream. Guilt-filled beliefs such as, it is wrong to want more, act as chains on the flow. Each recognition is an opportunity to remove the barrier and let the waters run free again. The practice is not in force but in release, not in adding effort but in removing opposition. Gratitude is the great dissolver of resistance. When one begins to bless what is already at hand, even if small, the walls of complaint and doubt begin to crumble. Gratitude shifts the vibration from not enough to more than enough, and in that shift, the flow quickens. To say, I rejoice in every sign of abundance, is to oil the channels, to open the gates, to melt the stones of resistance. The moment gratitude becomes habitual, prosperity cannot be held back, for gratitude aligns perfectly with the ever-giving nature of spirit. Another form of release is forgiveness. Resentment clogs the channels of supply more quickly than any other thought. To secretly envy the wealth of another is to affirm lack for oneself. To criticize prosperity is to condemn it in one's own life. Forgiveness removes this obstruction. To bless the prosperity of others, to rejoice in their good as though it were one's own, is to expand the channel through which one's own supply may come. Forgiveness of the past, forgiveness of oneself, forgiveness of every imagined injustice, all of these sweep the river clean, leaving no obstacle to the flow. Relaxation is yet another key. Prosperity is hindered by tension, by anxious grasping, by restless striving. The man who sits clutching at opportunity with nervous fear often drives it away. The one who rests in quiet trust, who moves with calm certainty, draws opportunity without strain. To release resistance is to exhale the breath of worry and inhale the breath of faith. It is to know that the flow is ceaseless, that what is meant for me cannot be withheld, that the universe is ever conspiring in my favor. In that stillness, prosperity slips in quietly, naturally, inevitably. Imagination plays its part as well. To continually picture failure or limitation is to reinforce resistance. But to imagine with joy, to see oneself already living in abundance, already walking in freedom, already overflowing with supply, is to align the inner picture with the outer flow. Resistance is dissolved when the inner world no longer contradicts the truth of abundance. The subconscious accepts the picture offered to it, and the universe rushes to supply the corresponding form. Thus prosperity is not earned by force, nor withheld by decree, but flows ceaselessly in response to the openness of the channel. When resistance is released, whether it be fear, guilt, resentment, doubt, or unworthiness, the waters of supply, long waiting behind the barrier, surge forth with ease, filling every dry place, quenching every thirst, overflowing every vessel with more than enough. Winning is alignment with divine law, not chance. What the world calls luck is but the unseen order of spirit answering the call of consciousness. There are no accidents in the workings of infinite mind, no random scattering of outcomes, no blind fortune ruling over man's destiny. What appears as chance to the eyes of flesh is precision to the eyes of spirit, for law governs all things. From the rising of the sun to the falling of the leaf. To align with that law is to place oneself in the current of certainty, where what is decreed must come to pass and what is sought must be revealed. The gambler who trusts only to numbers, dice, or cards believes he is at the mercy of fate. He stands in the fog of uncertainty, hoping against hopelessness, doubting even as he desires. But the one who understands divine law knows that outcomes are drawn not from the whims of fortune, but from the vibrations of consciousness. To think clearly, to speak the word with authority, to hold unwavering vision. This is to move with law, and in moving with law one cannot lose. Chance is chaos, law is harmony. Chance is fear, law is certainty. The winning ticket, the successful outcome. The golden opportunity are never accidents but demonstrations of alignment. Divine law responds to belief, and belief is not merely hope. Hope wavers, but belief stands as a decree. To align with divine law is to know within, beyond the shifting sands of doubt, that what belongs to one by right of consciousness cannot be withheld. When the word, I win, is spoken not with desperation, but with calm conviction, law hastens to make it visible. The world may call it coincidence, the ignorant may name it luck, but the soul that understands smiles, for it knows it has simply called forth what was already appointed. Consider the laws of nature. A seed planted in fertile soil, watered and warmed, must sprout. The farmer does not plant wheat and expect thorns. He does not pray that perhaps the seed will remember to grow. He knows that the law of growth will not fail, and he rests in assurance while the process unfolds. So too is it with divine law and prosperity. To plant the seed of victory in the soil of thought, to water it with spoken word, to warm it with faith, is to set in motion an outcome as certain as the dawn. The manifestation may appear sudden, like a windfall or a winning draw, but in truth it has been ripening unseen, waiting for the appointed moment. Man stumbles only when he imagines himself outside of law, supposing that some must be favored while others are forgotten. Yet law is impartial. It gives to each according to his belief. To align with law is to strip away the illusion of favoritism, and to rest in the certainty that the same principle which governs the stars governs also the affairs of men. Just as planets do not collide because each moves in its appointed orbit, so too do opportunities and outcomes fall into perfect order for the one aligned. Nothing is withheld, nothing is delayed, except by man's own resistance to the law. When man speaks of chance, he speaks of uncertainty, of an outcome untethered to cause. But there is no effect without cause, no harvest without seed, no outcome without consciousness behind it. Winning comes not from breaking law, but from harmonizing with it. To affirm, I am guided to right action, is to summon clarity where others see only confusion. To declare, the outcome is mine by divine right, is to call into being what appears improbable to those still lost in the belief in chance. The law does not gamble. It executes with precision, shaping reality to the measure of man's inner word. Fear is the great illusion that props up the idea of chance. The fearful man says, "Perhaps I will win, perhaps I will not. It is all beyond my control." But fear itself is a misalignment, a contradiction of truth, and so the fearful often meet with disappointment. Faith, on the other hand, is alignment. Faith says, "The law is on my side, the outcome is already mine." In such certainty the universe finds no opposition, and the result must conform. Faith does not chase after appearances, it commands appearances to line up with invisible truth. Winning, then, is not the act of grasping what few are granted, but the state of consciousness that compels victory to appear. The man aligned with law does not beg, nor does he tremble before uncertainty. He knows that to stand in harmony with divine principle is to call forth results that appear extraordinary to others. He may walk into a room and choose the right seat, the right moment, the right number, not by chance but by guidance. His steps are ordered because his mind is ordered, and the order within is reflected in the order without. This is why two men may stand side by side in the same situation, one failing and the other succeeding. The conditions are identical, the outer stage the same, but the inner alignment is different. The one who doubts, resists, complains, and fears is out of tune with law, and so discord appears in his results. The one who affirms, trusts, and speaks with authority is in harmony with law, and so harmony appears as success. The difference is not in luck but in consciousness, not in chance but in alignment. To align with divine law is to release all sense of struggle. Struggle implies resistance, alignment implies flow. The current of spirit is already moving toward good, and to step into that current is to be carried without effort toward winning outcomes. One need not strain, for straining suggests separation from supply. One need only trust, affirm, and allow. The lottery, the business deal, the opportunity, the door. All these are but outer channels through which the law demonstrates its precision. What others call improbable becomes inevitable when consciousness aligns. The more one practices alignment, the less one believes in luck at all. Luck becomes a word without meaning, replaced by certainty. Outcomes are no longer seen as random, but as reflections of inner decrees. The man aligned with divine law walks with calm assurance, not surprised when victory comes, for he knew it must. He does not tremble before uncertainty, for uncertainty has no place in a universe governed by eternal principle. His wins are steady, his progress assured, his demonstrations constant, for he has ceased to fight with the law, and has instead allowed it to work through him, as naturally as the tide obeys the moon. Certainty of good attracts the appointed outcome. The moment one stands firm in the knowing that good is inevitable, that the universe has already ordained victory, that nothing can obstruct what is divinely his, the unseen rushes to shape itself into visible form. Certainty is not mere wishing, nor is it anxious hoping. Certainty is the calm conviction that what is sought is already complete in the invisible, waiting only for the consciousness of the seeker to accept it. Just as the sun does not need to be persuaded to rise, so too does good not need to be persuaded to come. It is the natural state of things. To doubt is to turn away from the rising sun and complain of darkness. To be certain is to face it and feel its warmth before it breaks the horizon. Man often vacillates between belief and disbelief, affirming one moment and contradicting himself the next. This wavering sends forth a divided vibration, and the result is delay, confusion, and disappointment. The law of mind is exact, it gives form to the dominant conviction. Half belief cannot yield full manifestation. A decree spoken with uncertainty carries no authority, just as a command given by a hesitant voice carries no power to move those who hear it. But a decree spoken in certainty carries the force of law, and the universe hastens to obey. The one who declares, "My good is here now," with unwavering conviction, compels events, people, and circumstances to align with that statement. The certainty itself is the magnet, drawing the appointed outcome as naturally as the earth draws the seed to sprout upward. Certainty arises not from outer evidence but from inner recognition. Outer evidence may contradict, shouting lack, delay, or impossibility. Yet certainty pays no heed to appearances, for it knows appearances are shadows, and shadows cannot dictate reality. The man who waits for evidence before he believes will wait endlessly, for belief itself is the cause of evidence. The man who believes before he sees will see what he believes. This is the great reversal of truth. It is not, seeing is believing, but believing is seeing. Certainty of good lays the blueprint, and the blueprint must take form. The house is not built before the plan, the harvest is not gathered before the planting, the outcome is not visible before the decree. When one says, "I know my good is secure," he is aligning with the eternal storehouse of spirit, which contains infinite supply. He is not making something happen by force. He is allowing what already exists to take shape in his life. The treasure is not created by his certainty. The treasure is revealed through his certainty. Just as the stars are present even when clouds hide them, so too is the appointed outcome present even when appearances conceal it. Certainty sweeps away the clouds of doubt and reveals what has been there all along. This is why certainty attracts while doubt repels. Doubt is the vibration of uncertainty, a signal that wavers, unstable, unable to lock onto its object. Certainty is steady, unwavering, clear, and so it holds the vibration long enough for form to coalesce around it. The universe does not resist man's desire. It mirrors his certainty or his uncertainty. If he is certain of delay, he experiences delay. If he is certain of failure, he experiences failure. If he is certain of success, the appointed outcome must appear, for the law cannot deny the vibration it is commanded to reflect. Consider a compass needle pointing north. It does not waver between north and south, east and west. It holds itself steady, and because of its steadiness, it guides the traveler unerringly. Certainty of good is like that compass. It points unwaveringly to abundance, harmony, victory, and supply. The man who keeps his inner compass fixed on good will find his outer journey guided to the right doors, the right people, the right opportunities. He will not call this luck, for he knows it is alignment. The appointed outcome was drawn to him by the magnetism of his certainty. Certainty is strengthened through repetition of the word. Every time one affirms, "I am guided, I am supplied, I am victorious," the inner conviction deepens. Each spoken word is a stroke of the sculptor's chisel, shaping the inner form until it becomes immovable, unshakable. The mind begins to accept the affirmation as fact, and once accepted, it no longer entertains contradiction. To reach that place is to have won before the outcome appears, for the outcome is only the echo of the conviction. Certainty is not loudness, nor is it force. It is quiet authority, calm assurance, serene knowing. A whisper of certainty carries more power than a shout of fear. The woman who says softly to herself, "All is well. My good is assured," with unwavering conviction sets in motion a greater chain of events than the one who cries out in desperation for her needs to be met. The law responds not to volume but to certainty, not to intensity of desperation but to clarity of belief. Fear often tries to masquerade as realism. It says, "Be careful, do not expect too much, for you may be disappointed." But caution rooted in fear is simply resistance to good. Certainty is fearless, for it knows that good cannot be lost, cannot be stolen, cannot be delayed beyond its appointed moment. To walk in certainty is to walk in freedom, for one is no longer at the mercy of appearances, opinions, or circumstances. One becomes the master rather than the pawn, the creator rather than the victim. Certainty of good is magnetic not only to outcomes but to people and situations. It radiates an unseen power that others sense. Opportunities seem to gravitate toward those who carry it. Doors open, paths clear, alliances form. It is not chance but resonance like attracts like. The one who carries certainty draws to himself the external reflection of his internal knowing. He may walk into a place where countless others have failed and yet find success, because his certainty sets him apart, commanding a different order of events. This certainty is not arrogance but alignment. Arrogance boasts but secretly fears. Certainty rests, for it knows. Arrogance demands proof from the world, certainty creates proof in the world. Arrogance seeks to dominate. Certainty allows itself to be carried by divine order. It is a gentle strength, an immovable calm, a vibration that cannot be disturbed by appearances. Thus certainty of good stands as the master key. It does not wait, it does not beg, it does not waver. It knows, and in knowing, it attracts. The appointed outcome is not chance, not luck, not accident, but the natural effect of consciousness aligned with truth. When man dwells in certainty, the good he seeks is compelled to reveal itself, for certainty is the magnetic force that calls the unseen into form, the invisible into visibility, the promise into fulfillment.